All right, guys. Well, we lost another legend this week, which definitely is really shitty. It was Sean Connery, the original James Bond himself, who's been in plenty of classics over the years. We grew up watching his films. He's literally one of the goats. So it was definitely a rough one to see. But today we wanted to run through some of our favorite roles that he played, excluding James Bond. We'll get to James Bond in our feature presentation today. But we'll start with Highlander. JP, you have a little bit of a connection to that one.
Yeah, Highlander movies, like pretty okay series of sci-fi movies where Sean Connery plays a Spanish pimp with a sword and does a truly remarkable Spanish accent that sounds surprisingly like a Scottish accent. I mean,
interesting choice of casting.
Yeah, it's sort of like one of those things where maybe the director tried to tell him, "Hey, Sean, maybe try to sound a little more Spanish," and he just told him to fuck off. Which I could totally see happening.
I actually read from Michael Bay that he's the type of actor that will do that.
Dude, you could totally see it, and I really hope that was the case. But yeah, I mean, he makes this weird, goofy sci-fi movie pretty enjoyable to watch, and I think it would be far less memorable if he wasn't in. He's only in the first one, right?
Or does he I think back? He comes back.
Yeah.
For the other ones too, even though spoiler alert, the character died in the first movie.
Is Christopher Lambert in all of them?
He's in like the first few.
Yeah, like before they like really take a straight to VHS turn down the line.
Literally VHS at that point in time.
Yeah, like straight to home video. So I think he's in the first couple and then tails off. But I mean, if nothing, watch Highlander 1 for Sean Connery's just immaculate fashion sense, because he dresses like a goddamn pimp with a sword. It's fantastic.
He was the man.
He really was the man. Then and now, dog.
Yeah.
And we are not talking about Finding Forrester, but
the greatest line in the trailer of all time.
You did get your dog out, so that was good.
It spawned a whole internet meme site back in the early 2000s.
All right. Then in the late 80s, when he had his kind of renaissance after winning Best Supporting Actor for The Untouchables, he joined the Indiana Jones franchise. Corey?
Yeah, I mean, this has always been one of my favorites, other than probably Bond. I mean, he was so good as Henry Jones, as Indy's father, and the chemistry that he had with Harrison Ford was amazing. And it's interesting because, I mean, that movie came out in what, 88, 89?
89. Yep.
89. And I guess they tried to make him look a lot older than he really was at the time, but I thought he was like really old, like as a kid, like old as shit. And like as time has gone on and he's, shown up in different things and, he's, still been with us up until this point. It was pretty crazy that, like I thought that this was like his swan song, like this film. But
yeah.
It's one of those Patrick Stewart type things where once you've reached max level, you stop leveling up, and he's like from 1989 to probably until maybe 2010, it looks like he didn't age a day just because he like went from like
he turned into an old man when he was sort of young.
Yeah,
yeah,
which is I think a great way to age.
Yeah, and this movie especially, like you can tell that he really enjoyed the character, enjoyed the role, and had fun with it. He did a great job. It's definitely one of my favorite characters he's ever played.
He made Last Crusade my favorite Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, as I've gotten older, it's definitely become one of my favorites. I don't know if it's my favorite. It's probably my second favorite, but it's great, and it's a lot of it is because of him. They made it like this great buddy movie, with a father and son, and like I said,
which Crystal Skull tried to replicate.
Yeah, and I think, like I said before, I think it comes down to that the chemistry between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery was just so good. Like I'm surprised they never acted together again, right? Was this like the only film that they ever were in?
As far as I know, they were
imagine.
close to getting him back for Crystal Skull or whatever it would have been then, but he ultimately had retired and was like,
he wasn't interested.
I'm enjoying retirement too much. Like, but if I did come back, it would have been for this.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's not like he was a reoccurring character. Like he came in the last film of the trilogy, and I guess it was a great experience for him. Maybe him and Steven Spielberg were, good buds, Harrison Ford, and for him to say that like years and years later, that if there was anything that I would come back for out of retirement, it would be Indiana Jones. That's pretty crazy. But
it's kind of cool.
He retire?
2003.
Wow. And he hadn't been in a movie since then?
Nope. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was his.
Yo, I love that movie though.
Yeah.
He like had a terrible experience making that one.
Yeah, I'll bet. I love that movie though.
I remember you were fucking amped to see it.
I have it on DVD.
But yeah, I mean that's really all I have to say about Indiana Jones. It's a classic. Definitely a classic Connery film, I think.
Two things. What you were saying about Spielberg and Sean Connery and getting along or whatever. It's kind of funny because Spielberg wanted to make a Bond movie in, I guess, like the early 80s, late 70s, but Eon Productions like wouldn't allow it. They didn't have American directors, I don't believe, at that point in time, and I guess they just thought Spielberg was too big a name to do their films. So then he ends up fucking taking the original James Bond and throwing it into the franchise that he did instead because he couldn't make a James Bond movie.
Wow,
that was the only reason why Indiana Jones was created, was because he was pissed off he couldn't do a Bond movie, and then him and George Lucas came up with the concept for Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So it's basically like the American secret agent, I guess, almost in a way, American Bond.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, if you think about it, it's traveling the world and all that.
He just works for the government, right?
Just a different type of...
he's a teacher. Historian.
Dude. And then the other thing I was going to say was about his age. It still... I think I may have mentioned this once previously on the podcast, but it still blows my mind that Sean Connery was only 10 years older than Harrison Ford when they made... all the time he was only 10 years older than him, but it's so ridiculous because he does seem so much older than Ford in Last Crusade.
Yeah.
So that means Harrison Ford's 80 years old right now?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Means he's going to be fucking 82. 82 when...
No, he's 78 right now.
Okay, so there was a 12-year difference?
Yeah.
Either
Good
way.
Lord.
Crazy. But he'll be I guess he'll be 80 when Indiana Jones 5 comes out, if it does actually come out when they claim.
Insane.
Yeah. that hurts the old noggin.
Which is
about.
Exactly how old, or no, it's older than Sean Connery would have been if he had been in Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
Wow.
He would have been only, I guess, 78 at the time. So,
good Lord.
But Ford's still kicking. All right, let's pivot now to the 90s. Doug, the movie that you think of when you think of Sean Connery. Well, maybe it's not necessarily the movie, but it's one of them that I've heard you talk about quite a bit over the years.
Yeah, it's one of the movies for sure. Definitely not the movie, but he does a killer job voicing Draco in the movie Dragonheart. I don't know. I mean, the guy's just got such a iconic, commanding voice that it works so well for a dragon. Unfortunately, the CGI in the movie Dragonheart doesn't hold up well at all. It looks like trash.
The early days of CGI. It was only a few years after T2.
Yeah, but what year did Dragonheart come out?
93?
I think like spring of 96, I think.
That's still a few years after Jurassic Park, and it's just like...
I thought it came out before Jurassic Park. That's how...
They went less practical with Dragonheart, right? It was more just straight CGI.
Yeah, it was straight CGI when they weren't ready to go straight CGI yet.
Yeah.
But Yeah, not much to say about it other than like he's an awesome voice for a dragon, and I don't know, he brings like a grandness to his roles. I think.
So is he your favorite dragon? Does he play a better dragon than Benedict Cumberbatch in The Hobbit?
Yeah, 100%. I would take Draco over. I don't remember the Smog. Yeah, I would take Draco over Smog any day of the week.
All right.
Yeah, and he's good. I mean, just kind of looking back at these roles, he's good at kind of playing like the wiser side character that imparts like knowledge onto the protagonist.
The wise janitor.
And he does a great job doing that as Draco and Dragonheart. So
awesome. All right, and then the role I think of when I think of Sean Connery also came out in 1996. It's John Mason in The Rock. So I guess that was probably the first like new release that Sean Connery had made that I saw when I was a kid. And I mean, it's Michael Bay at his best as a director, dealing with Alcatraz and terrorists taking it over, and Sean Connery being the grizzled former prisoner of Alcatraz who now has to help the Navy SEALs or whoever get back into Alcatraz to save hostages. Just a fantastic movie, great concept. I guess it's a little bit of a reverse riff on Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood. It kind of just deals with what would have happened potentially 30 years later. But just such a fun flick. Sean Connery's an absolute badass. Like, you can just see how he could intimidate Nicolas Cage, his co-lead in the movie, as much as he does. Because he just comes across so like gruff and tough. But yeah, that's just. It was one of his last hits. I guess he was only making movies for another 7 years after that. So it's kind of like the way I picture Sean Connery as an actor is just like that image, him in The Rock. So yeah, that's what I got.
Pre or post haircut?
Good question. Let's go post haircut.
Oh yeah, he had the long hair.
He's got the like long hair.
He has the style. He's got the stylist in San Francisco. That movie's like two movies in one. It's just ridiculous.
Such a good movie.
Right? It's just a fun one.
Yeah, just one of Nick Cage's better roles too.
Yeah, it's before Nick Cage went like completely over the top and everything. At that point, he was just coming off like an Academy Award win, so he was still fairly grounded, even though he was always over the top to a degree, I would say. But yeah, after that's when he started his whole action run, doing like Face Off and Con Air and all those flicks, which maybe we will talk about in our yearly film series in a few weeks. But yeah, Sean Connery, literally the James Bond 007 himself. When most film fans think of James Bond, they're always going to think of Sean Connery. If you're from a certain age, or even if you're our age, I think we still like just naturally think of Sean Connery as James Bond, even if he wasn't necessarily the guy that we watched in the role when we were kids and all that. But I guess we can raise a glass and salute one of cinema's legends. So, rest in peace, good sir.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Welcome to Live Breathe Film, episode 21. You're here with Corey, Doug, JP, and Murph. Thanks as always for joining us. Our main topic today, after just talking about Sean Connery's passing, is 007 himself, and our thoughts on the long-running James Bond franchise. However, before we get to that, let's run through some news and what we watched over this past week. So today's kind of video game focused with news, which is, say, rare for us, since there aren't too many good video game movies, hence why they don't really make too many that are very popular. But we're actually getting a TV show for Assassin's Creed. I don't know if you guys heard this. It's going to be on Netflix. Corey and Doug, I know you guys are, at least you were big Assassin's Creed franchise fans.
Yep.
I don't know if you ever saw the movie with Fassbender. Does this sound like a good idea?
Garbage.
Garbage movie?
So bad.
Yeah, the movie was garbage, but I think it could make for a good TV show or movie, because you've got like the two storylines that it could make for kind of interesting television, where you've got the future, which can kind of be like a sci-fi type storyline, and then you have when he relives the lives of his ancestors and can go to like a specific period in time. And so it could work for multiple seasons if you just focus on a time period per season.
It could only work for 2 seasons because Netflix has a limit.
That's true.
Yeah.
They have to make sure they cancel them.
Yeah, well, that's
young.
That's the unfortunate part, right? Because if it's good and you get hooked on it, if it's not Stranger Things level, then you're right, they're gonna cancel it after 2 seasons, and you're never gonna find out how it ends.
I mean,
but I think it could be good in the right hands.
It seems
what
like
it sounds to me like? It sounds to me like it would follow like a Westworld type platform the best, because you had 2 completely different worlds going on. You have the sci-fi and you have the Wild West.
Yeah.
Do something like that.
Yeah. No, it gives you the opportunity to be like, all right, well, we're in medieval timeline for season 1, and then season 2 we're gonna do like Vikings, or we're gonna do the Renaissance, or they can kind of just do whatever the hell they want with it.
Yeah.
I think Netflix is I think they're trying to double down on adapting video game like properties, IPs that kind of make sense. I mean, Witcher has been very successful for them so far. Resident Evil, I don't know, but they're doing Resident Evil like I think it's like a standalone type of thing. So
they're doing like an origin movie, right? Is that what they're doing on Netflix? Or is that a separate thing?
They're doing an origin movie, but I don't know if that's being done by Netflix. I know that there's a series that Netflix is doing that follows Wesker's children. It has nothing to do with the games. But I don't know if they're involved in the movie too, which looks way better.
Is it live action or is it animated? The movie?
They're both live action. The movie is live action. Yeah.
Exactly. I just saw today Donald Logue from Grounded for Life, and I'm going way back with that reference.
Mm-hmm.
And Gotham was cast to be in it today.
Yeah, the cast for the movie is really, really exciting. There's also pictures, if you haven't seen them yet, but there's pictures online of like the sets that they're building and stuff, and that looks promising. The TV show or Netflix show, I don't know, but I'm not sure if they're involved in both of them. But with Assassin's Creed, I think it's another property that can be adapted, if done correctly, if they get the right people involved. So hopefully they do. And then they could definitely do like new seasons. Each season follows like a different character or different time period. So that would be cool, I guess. I'm not very excited for it especially after the movie. So we'll see. I mean, my bar is going to be set very low, but hopefully it's not shit. If it's good, that'll be awesome. But I mean, they didn't even announce casting of anything, right? They just announced that it was a thing, that they're doing it.
Yeah, it's as far as I know.
So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see who they cast, if they follow like the video games, if they do the original. Doug, what was his name from the original game? You remember? Not Miles.
Here was that his name?
No. The character that you played as from the real world. I forgot his name.
Was it Desmond?
Desmond Miles. I thought it was Miles something. So yeah, Desmond. But I don't know if they're gonna follow that.
I mean, I hope they don't. He was kind of a shitty character. Their weakness has always been to me the like future sci-fi storyline. That to me they never got that right. So
they ruined it.
If I was making the show, I would just kind of do my own thing for that.
Yeah. So it could be good, but we'll see.
All right. Then in other video game news, Uncharted, which has been in development for like a decade already. At one point, Mark Wahlberg was going to be playing the main character, Nathan Drake, but at this point now he's playing Nathan Drake's mentor. Since he's been around, it's been around for so long. It's finally wrapped production, and we've seen our first photos of Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, which is definitely odd casting because Nathan Drake is probably a late 30s, 40-something character in the series, and they cast a early 20-something-year-old to play the protagonist. So, what do you guys think? What do you guys think of the casting? The fact that it's a younger version of Drake, and then what do you think of the photos so far and how he looks in comparison to what you would have expected in advance?
I was actually surprised with Tom Holland's look. I mean, I'm definitely not on board with the movie, but I was definitely a little bit more on board with the style that they're going for, with how the costume is set up and like how he looks. Like he looks older, and it looks like it could work depending on what they're trying to do story wise. But it's just hard to say. I mean, hopefully it doesn't end up being shit, as I said before, but he's a good actor, and he looks the part now, I think. He just looks like a very young Nathan Drake.
Yeah, I think he looks incredibly young in that picture. And it's sort of off-putting, and then you add Mark Wahlberg into the story, and
he looks
you pretty much fucking
terrible.
lost me there.
Please look at the picture of Mark Wahlberg with a mustache.
It is.
Oh, God.
It is horrific.
Since he's playing Victor
That's it's clearly his Sully look, too.
That completely killed it for me. It like any type of expectations or excitement, that photo, I was just like, oh my god.
I can't find it, but I would imagine I would probably scream if I saw it.
It's pretty goofy.
I have no emotional connection to this video game because I never played them, but it's weird. Like, you could have found someone that looks more like the role. Like Nathan Fillion looks like fucking Nathan Drake.
He should
like,
play
100%.
him.
He should have been the cast.
He can do it now.
Made it. Yeah.
There's a short film actually on YouTube that Nathan Fillion made with. I guess it seemed like it had a decent budget, and he plays Drake, like hoping that he would get cast in the role.
Yeah.
But the studio's like pulling, doing the whole. You got to put Spider-Man in the movie, even though he looks like a 16-year-old boy running around.
Sony.
Fun fact about
the character. Their boy now.
Fun fact about the character: Naughty Dog, like modeled that character, like his personality and everything, after Nathan Fillion, after him in Firefly, like that character. That was what they were going for, and they've said it legitimately. And it's like Sony's just like, nah.
I saw the mustache. Jesus Christ!
Isn't that like one of the most horrifying things you've ever seen?
He looks like someone you find in Bayonne walking around. He's got the wife beater on. He's got his hair slicked back and the mustache. Like, that's a man that screams at you to get off his lawn and screams "forget about it" at you as you leave.
Did you see the photo?
Lord.
Did you guys see the photo where someone stuck a Mario hat on him?
No. Can that happen?
Oh, dude, I want to see that.
Hashtag make Mark Wahlberg Mario.
They colored the wife beater red and put a Mario.
It's fantastic.
Good Lord.
Oh,
yeah, no, this has all the makings of being a steaming pile of shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's had 7 directors attached to it already. So many different writers. It's a miracle it's actually finally getting made. But I don't think the miracle is going to lead to an actual successful product.
Probably not.
I don't know. What I can say is I did think the photos of Tom Holland looked better than what I was expecting when Tom Holland was cast.
The aesthetic looks good.
He looks less like a kid than like he does in Spider-Man. Like he looks like a young adult. The idea of teenage Nathan Drake in a movie I know they had some flashback scenes in the games where you played as young Nate when he was like 13 or 15 or whatever, but I didn't want to see a movie about that.
It's like Uncharted Hunger Games.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's coming out next summer. Well, it's supposed to come out next summer, but we'll see what actually happens. So I guess we'll see at that point in time. But until then, we will make fun of Mark Wahlberg and his ridiculous mustache. Until then,
it's horrifying.
For the rest of time.
It's just frightening, like the way this picture is taken too. He's like talking to the phone. Like, I don't like it.
His publicist should have been like, no.
Oh, you know he does not have a publicist. No one wants to work with him in public relations.
Nah, we'll
Mark just does what he wants to do.
We'll get another picture. Like it's fine, but let's not post it right now. It's not a good time.
Guys, I'm in this video game.
He probably doesn't even know what the video game is.
Yeah.
He's gonna be so bad as Sully.
He's not
about that casting.
It's gonna be odd.
And you know he's not going to change his voice. It's just going to be Mark Wahlberg's Boston accent as Sully.
You don't think he did a flawless Texas accent when he was in Transformers?
Oh, Nathan Drake, come over here.
These old things in the desert. You gotta find them. You gotta find these old things for
me. He's not gonna do Sully's voice or like something similar. Like he's just gonna play himself with a mustache. God.
I'm sending my 20-year-old friend out into the desert. He's gonna go get some artifacts for me.
Oh, my heart hurts. It hurts.
Yeah. All right. Video game movies still bad in 2020.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And then we mentioned Michael Bay earlier. We've been graced with the trailer to the latest film that he has produced, entitled Songbird. It takes place in 2023 and deals with COVID-23.
Yeah.
So just the type of escapism everyone's looking for as we deal with COVID-19. You guys saw the trailer. Who the fuck do they think wants to see this movie right now?
No, number one, I want to know when they filmed this. Because,
during the pandemic.
Within the last 11 months, probably.
Within the last 6 months.
Last 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah, Jesus. March was when everything got shut down.
I think this was the first movie filmed in LA during the pandemic.
That's just insane. I don't know. It's definitely a movie that I would probably go see, but I don't want to see it right now. I don't want to see something like this right now. It's not...
It assembled a decent cast. I never heard of the leads, but it's got Craig Robinson, Peter Stormare, Demi Moore, Paul Walter Hauser, Bradley Whitford,
the girl from
et cetera.
Babysitter, second Babysitter's
from Killer Queen. Yep.
Yeah.
Jenna Ortega,
and then the main guys from Riverdale, because my wife was screaming she hates him.
Okay.
I guess he's a terrible actor.
KJ Apa, I guess.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, it looks like a fucking pile of shit.
Yeah, it was filmed. Production started July 8th.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's like making a movie about a national tragedy as it's going on, or like fucking days after it happened.
And then
they are doing it while it's still very much.
They're trying to capitalize on it.
Yeah, like I'm saying, it's like legitimately making like 9/11 Part 2, the movie, on like November 11th, 2000.
But at least that movie.
A lot of people were not happy about like United 93 and
and that movie
the World
came
Trade
out.
Center movie. And those came out 5 years after.
Yeah.
This fucking thing is coming out
while it's still going on.
Maybe it's just something Michael Bay wanted to see and went all in and produced it just for his own amusement.
and they describe it as a romantic thriller. What the fuck do they think this is? Titanic?
Well, it's because the man he's
got
the wristband. He's immune.
He's immune.
But she has a fever, and she's going to be murdered by the government.
It's like Pearl Harbor and Titanic. Like they're trying to make a movie like that, which I guess makes sense because Michael Bay directed Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, trying to beat Titanic, probably.
Yeah, exactly, definitely.
Yeah.
Can I say that?
Crack at it.
Taking normal songs, and turning them into playing them a little differently so that they become horror type songs. I feel like they went too far with Bob Marley. I don't think you should take a Bob Marley song and be like...
I was wondering why I had that song stuck in my head today. That was it.
Yeah, they play it. It like starts off normal in the beginning, and then they kind of like change it up so it's like slower. Because if you play a song slower, that means horror.
Well, well, it means horror, or it means Zack Snyder is making another cut of his movie. Which it worked in the Batman trailer.
Also horror.
But now it's going to be... that's going to be done to death. That's the next trailer trend is...
Nonsense.
Like, turn the tempo down and put some, like, wah, wah, wah behind, like, a happy song.
Yeah,
I just have to just say the premise of this movie just because it's so ridiculous. During a pandemic lockdown caused by COVID-23, a young man must overcome martial law, murderous vigilantes, and a powerful, well-connected family to reunite with his love.
So there's the Purge in there too, because one of the people that did the Purge is involved in this as well.
Yeah. It does have that Purge vibe to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if it's like a producer of the Purge or something like that, but it flashes the Purge on the trailer.
Yeah, one of the creators.
Michael Bay's even a producer on the Purge movies.
Is he?
Platinum Dunes. They produced the Purge movies, and he created the company.
Oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, this looks like a stinker. I hope they make $0 after making this movie.
I'm definitely gonna watch it. I know I am, just out of curiosity, but
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a pass for me. I have no desire to see that movie.
No. Even like 10 years from now, I have no fucking desire to see that movie.
It doesn't even look like it's a streaming movie. Like, I think they're trying to have it in theaters.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was direct. Oh, well, all right. Yeah.
It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
It won't. Okay, let's go on to what we watched over this past week. Since this is essentially our Bond episode, Corey, I believe you watched a bunch of the Daniel Craig films over the last week.
Yeah, oddly enough. Well, no, I mean it's been over the past like couple weeks. I've just been rewatching all of Daniel Craig's movies, and I just finished. I watched Spectre last night. Watch Skyfall maybe like sometime towards the end of the week last week. So yeah, I mean now that I've watched the movies again, it's been a while since I've watched them all in succession like this, and one thing I will say is Quantum of Solace is not as bad anymore. Like it has its place in the series of films. It's still the worst, but I enjoyed it a lot more this time because knowing what is going to happen and how it kind of fits into Casino Royale as a sequel. It's because that's basically what it is. It's just a sequel to Casino Royale at that point. But biggest problem is the villain. The villain is just not interesting. Movie's somewhat boring somehow. And Spectre is amazing. Like I enjoyed that one, probably the second most next to Casino Royale. Skyfall was awesome, but definitely not my absolute favorite. But Spectre I really, really liked. And it's cool now. When I finished Spectre, I went and I watched the No Time to Die trailer, the newest one, to see like, 'cause it's been a while, to see like what I could pick up on, and it's cool how like they really are just like trying to tie everything up. It got me excited again because I want to see like how how Daniel Craig James Bond is going to end, like how they're going to tie it up. They've already tied, all the films to an extent together with the organization and Blofeld, and he's clearly in the next one. So it'll be really cool to see how they end it. I hope they do it in a satisfying way, because he certainly deserves it. He killed it. He killed it as Bond. The movies they're fantastic. I think his streak as Bond is the best out of all of the actors who've played Bond. Yes, Sean Connery's films, a lot of them were better. He was a better Bond. I agree, in some ways, but I think he had his 5 films. Hopefully, are going to be better as a whole than a lot of the other actors, complete series that they've done in the past.
His movies definitely didn't take that weird Bond turn where they start to get incredibly goofy and stupid.
They stayed on the same track. Like they didn't deviate. They didn't try to do the goofy shit. They didn't try to do something different. They all followed the same pace and the same storyline, which is pretty good, especially after you go back and watch them again. You're like, oh wow, these really are connected.
Yeah, they felt cohesive. I think it's probably just a product of the time that this movie was made in, because Brosnan being the last one, those movies kind of took a turn for the worst. They got goofy because
they were like kind of hokey.
Yeah,
like the world is not enough. And
no, which one was the one? Which one was the one where it was in like Antarctica? The guy with like the ice in his face, the Pierce Brosnan one. Was that No Time to Die? Halle Berry, I think.
That was like with Zhao. That was like, that was Zhao. That was in.
He got like
Johnny Tran was the guy that played that character.
That movie was ridiculous. I remember we saw that in theaters.
Yeah. Where was that one?
But yeah, no, I think that's what
Die Another Day.
Die Another Day. Okay, I think that's what served this series of movies very well, is that they stuck to. I'm not going to say that they had a whole story planned out, because I don't think they did, but they stuck to the same formula and they fleshed out the story of this organization. They brought back classic characters. I mean, Blofeld is he's a classic character, and Christoph Waltz did a great job. I think he was just not in the movie enough. That was probably the only negative I would have about that movie, was I wanted to see more of him, and you really didn't until like the last maybe 40 minutes of the movie. And the movie was long. It was like almost 3 hours.
Yeah, I remember that being a bit of a
and this one is supposed to be longer. No Time to Die, meaning this one. The next one that's coming out is supposed to be the longest, so that movie's probably going to be legit almost 3 hours.
Wow.
So with an action movie, that's hard to do, I think, with pacing, because you don't want people to like lose interest or fall asleep. But
yeah, it's a lot of explosions you got to do, a lot of shooting.
Yeah,
I always felt like the new Bond movies, like the Jason Bourne movies, kind of paved the way.
I think
for
so.
those to come through.
From a kinetic standpoint with the action, definitely, it's like more in your face, like brutal combat, where he picks up a book and like he tries to beat someone with it, or like
Whereas like some of the older Bonds, he was like so good that like he never really got roughed up too much, and it never got brutal. I think Casino Royale, you like get into Casino Royale, and it's just like they're just like he's getting the shit beat out of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he gets his shit kicked in like every single movie.
Yeah, which was kind of, I remember being like surprised in that with Casino Royale, just watching Bond get the shit beat out of him, because usually Bonds, that didn't happen to Bond. So
yeah.
It was definitely a big change. Were you able to catch, Corey, when Daniel Craig all of a sudden looks way older? Like what movie it was where he goes from being youthful to like old man?
In Spectre?
No, just in general, and while you're watching the Bond movies.
Yeah.
In Casino Royale, he's like so youthful looking.
Yeah.
And then at some point, he just
it was Skyfall, and like towards. Yeah, definitely. I think it was Skyfall where he started to look
a
like
lot
a lot
older.
older. Because I'm trying to remember, because Quantum of Solace, I think they filmed very close to each other, like 2 years later. I think it came out in like 2008, and then they had like that gap where they were having issues. I mean, he looks significantly older in No Time to Die compared to Spectre. Like, go back and watch Spectre and then watch the trailer for No Time to Die. You're like, holy shit, he looks a lot older. A lot. But
when did the first movie come out?
2006, I want to say.
Wow. So around 14 years of Daniel Craig Bond.
And a lot of it is because there was just so much drama with making the movies. I mean, just with No Time to Die, that movie, Danny Boyle was supposed to direct it. I think they had a script even before then, before he signed on and made his own script, and then they scrapped that whole thing, and then they got what's his name from True Detective, I think, who's directing No Time to Die now. But I think it was Spectre where they didn't really have the money to even make it. They had to put it on hold because of the recession, everything that was going on. So there's a lot of bullshit, that has happened, which has made those movies. It's been 14 years since it started. But one call out I want to say, Dave Bautista, I forgot that he was in Spectre. I fucking loved him. Especially, I don't know if you guys remember the scene where he beats the fucking shit out of Bond on the train. He just manhandles him. He throws him through walls, and it was a great fight scene.
Doesn't he not say a word in the entire movie?
Yeah, he's your typical, which I think is awesome. Your typical Bond sub boss, I guess, where they don't talk. He says "oh shit" when he dies. That's the only thing he says, and I thought that was cool. He gets the barrels wrapped around his neck, and he flies off the train.
Gotcha.
But that fight scene was great. So I'm now amped to see No Time to Die, even though we're not going to be seeing it anytime soon. Yeah. So sad.
Well, we'll talk a lot more about Bond later. It is sad. We all agree on that, for sure. Since we were supposed to have seen it a long time ago already. And it was supposed to come out this month, the second time. So that's cool. But let's get to something you actually watched and something you completed. You talked about it previously on the podcast. But let's hear your final thoughts on Dark.
Yeah, so I finally finished all 3 seasons of Dark. It was it's planned 3 seasons. When we talked about it before, I mentioned it's got to do with time travel, and it's probably one of the better time travel things I've seen, just in that they've clearly planned everything out, and you saw how everything tied together. The downside is that it's all subtitles because it's in German, so you have to read. But this is the first show that I've watched in subtitles, and it didn't bother me that much, especially after the first couple of episodes.
I thought it was dubbed.
You can watch it dubbed. I don't like to do dubbed because I don't like when the acting's different. You have different actors that are doing the voices, and then I don't like the out of sync.
I know
talking.
My dad watched this, and he said that the dubbing was some of the best he's ever seen.
Wow.
Before, so it might be worth just taking a quick look at one of the episodes in it.
Yeah, I may just I can go check it out. But yeah, I didn't think it was bad with the subtitles. I got kind of used to just reading everything, and it kind of forces you to put all of your attention into a show. So you can't just go down and look at your phone and half pay attention. You've got to be giving it your all, and you definitely need to give it your all for the show, because season 1's a little bit hard to follow because of all the different intricacies and how the different characters play together throughout the timeline. of past, present, and future. But season 2, they ratcheted it up to like way more things going on, and then season 3 is even like more intense than that. And so by season 3, I was joking with my wife that we needed like a chart to kind of follow who's who and what's going on and what
You have like the
timeline
yarn
and
strings connecting each other.
Exactly. Yeah, we were just gonna have like a room with just like setting up who's where and what timeline and who's a part of whose family and who's father.
This is our dark
it
room.
Yeah, it gets a lot more complicated, and you have to like start paying a lot more attention. And I'd say that's probably the biggest weakness of the third season is it's just there's too much going on. But I mean, overall, they knew they were going to do 3 seasons. It wasn't ended abruptly like a lot of Netflix shows, and so the end, the last season ties everything together from the first 2 seasons.
Did they know it was ending with 3, or was it just?
Yeah, they always planned it to be 3. It was actually like Dark is, I think, one of Netflix's most successful shows. So, yeah, I think they could have gone longer if they wanted to, but they were just like, we have 3 seasons worth of material, and we're going to do 3 seasons and end it. And so, it worked. I enjoyed it. I think they got a little bit too convoluted in the last season. But for someone that really likes time travel and really likes to kind of just see how different timelines and time travel the cause and effect, if you're like really into seeing like cause and effect, they play with that so much, and I've never seen anything that plays with it to the extent that Dark does. So it's interesting. Season 1's more classic time travel, where it's a lot easier to follow. Season 3 started to be a little bit of a chore, but to watch just because of how confusing it got. But I think they did a good job ending it. I'd recommend it. I think the biggest hurdle it's got is can be hard to follow at times, and you got to be committed to either listening to some possibly stellar dubbing that I've yet to confirm, or you're just going to be reading subtitles.
Yeah. I have a hard time with the subtitles. I skipped the last Unsolved Mysteries episode. That was all in Japanese.
Oh,
so
really?
I wanted to do other things while I was listening, and I couldn't because I don't understand Japanese.
Well, if you look at Corey, I mean, he gets dreams about subtitles.
He does. In the middle of the night.
Where your high school football coach tells you not to skip the subtitles
On the VHSs.
of Silence of the Lambs.
I like subtitles in films, but you are right. Like if you want to do 2 things at once, multitask at all, like you can't unless you know the language. So it's annoying.
Yeah, I'm very rarely ever sitting down to watch a movie.
I mean, if the choices are learn another language or read for a couple hours, reading's not that bad.
Got it, man. Rosetta Stone doesn't work. Or maybe I'm just too dumb. I've tried.
No, it doesn't work.
All right.
Yeah, I was hoping that I'd like kind of understand a little bit more German, but I don't think that happened. So, oh well.
You have conversational German when it comes to time travel. But that's about it. So you just sound like a crazy person to German people.
Yeah, I know how to say the characters' names with a German pronunciation.
There you go. You're learning.
Watch Jojo Rabbit. Just any scene where they speak German, learn a little bit of language there.
In their New Zealand British accent.
Exactly. They didn't exactly go with some homegrown talent.
No one ever does. No one ever does the German accent anymore in movies. It's always British.
Inglourious Bastards.
Me. Yes, maybe that was...
That movie.
Yeah, that was like a rare one.
Yeah. Anything, I guess, Christoph Waltz is in. He gets to bring that to the
that
table.
whole cast was all like prolific German actors that I didn't know.
It's a good accent. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Bring it into movies. Not everyone's got to be British if you're
Not played out yet. Do it.
No.
All right, JP, you watched a classic
Yeah.
Halloween type flick.
Yeah, it's like the first time in a very long time that I've gotten to sit down and watch Rocky Horror Picture Show. Watched it right before Halloween, Friday night, and I forgot how weird that movie was.
It's amazing.
I can remember as a child watching it during.
Hey, what did you say when you texted us? You forgot what it was?
It's just,
Subversive
like,
or
so, like it's like very perverse.
oh, perverse?
It's very like out there. It's just so weird.
Hello.
Yeah. I forgot how bad like the acting is in that movie, but they make up for it with all the music. So they went full on like getting people that could sing, that could do the dances and stuff, and they're like, can they act? Like, does it fucking matter? Tim Curry's in like stockings and underwear, and they're all aliens at the end. So who gives a shit?
It.
But yeah, I mean it's just such a spooky movie that's not like outright a Halloween movie. And there's some bangers in there. The songs are just so good. I was singing along with them, had a couple drinks, was dancing around my house singing Time Warp, and put a nice little cap on Halloween season.
When Meatloaf shows up as Eddie on his motorcycle,
Yeah.
that song has always been one of my favorites. It's so good.
It's crazy too. Growing up, like my parents always listen to Meatloaf, and I go to my wife, "It's Meatloaf." She goes, "I have no fucking idea who that is." I said, "You do, you do."
She goes, "I don't
he
see
was."
any Meatloaf on the
How?
screen."
I said he was the bus driver in Spice World.
How do you not know who Meatloaf is?
Yeah, that's
She never listened to Bad Out of Hell.
It's
She
like
never listened to
Billie Eilish.
Incredible.
She didn't know Van Halen like last year, and she was getting so much shit online. It's different generations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
And Time
It's
Warp?
like we don't probably know a lot of the popular people from like the 50s.
Yeah.
There's like I feel like there's like a 30-year gap that everyone's got or something like that.
I mean, maybe her parents just
famous people.
fucking hated Meatloaf's music and didn't want to listen to it.
Could be.
See, my dad loved
They weren't big
possible.
Spaceballs fans.
My dad loved Meatloaf, so that's why
Wait,
I know.
Spaceball? He's not in Spaceballs. Why-
Meatloaf's not in Space.
What else? What am I thinking of? Oh no,
Spice
Fight Club.
World.
Fight Club.
Spice
Fight
World.
Club.
Fight Club, yeah.
And
I
he's
don't
in
know why I said Spaceballs.
he's in
she
that
does know like Meatloaf songs though, right?
I don't think so.
he's in
I'll do
Wayne's
anything
World.
for love. She probably
Well,
knows.
I mean, like, outside of going to weddings in the 90s, like, you'd hear one on the radio on occasion, but they played that one really shitty song in the 90s, and that was, like, the wedding event. When
I'll do anything for love, probably.
No, I forget which one it is.
Yeah, I was at a wedding a couple years ago and they came out to a Meatloaf song.
Yeah.
I forget which one it was.
If it was Bad Out of Hell, that'd be amazing.
No.
Come out to that.
I don't fucking know what it is. I know his songs. I don't know, like, any of the names of them.
Do you guys
But-
remember him in Wayne's World, where he was Tiny, the bouncer of the gasworks?
I don't watch poop movies.
Oh, come on now.
What movie?
Wayne's World.
Oh yeah, I'm not a big Wayne World guy. As JP said, I don't
Blasphemy.
like poop movies.
That is not a poop movie. You guys are blasphemous. Whatever.
Yeah. So, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Good little cap to Halloween season. And then, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but I watched Bill and Ted Face the Music. I know you guys watched that when it came out.
We did.
And I fucking hated it. I thought it was absolutely terrible.
I have yet to watch it.
Strong words.
Yeah. It was, like, I wanted to turn it off after a while.
You know why I said Meatloaf and Spaceballs? Because I think Barf just kind of looks like a fucking meatloaf.
Like
Like
Meatloaf.
Meatloaf. I mean,
Just fucking meatloaf.
so John Candy with dog ears.
Yes.
Just classic Meatloaf.
All right, go back to what you're saying.
I just my hatred of Bill and Ted Face the Music. Bill and Ted Hate the Music because they hate the music. I just didn't love it. I couldn't get into Bill and Ted being Bill and Ted again. I guess it was fine. The thing in the beginning where Chrissy is now marrying
Beck
Bill's
Bennett.
brother, yeah, or Ted's brother, and then his dad's now his son, his own son, and all that shit. That was funny. the daughter's just... Whoever played Ted's daughter, she just fucking went full ham. And I was like...
Yeah, I've never
nah.
seen her in anything before.
Yeah.
Bridget
That was...
Lundy Payne, or Payne Lundy, I believe is her name.
Yeah, that was hard to watch. And then the girl from The Ring. What was her name?
Smart Weaving.
Smart Weaving, yeah. Not the girl from The Ring, but sounds like the girl from The Ring. I thought she was okay. She did a better job of, like, reining it in a little bit and being her own character, but still kind of being
A little
Bill's
bit of Bill.
daughter, yeah.
What did you think of William Sadler?
He was barely in it.
Really? I think I remember you
I
guys
tried to
saying
say your
that.
expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember you guys saying that. That's sad.
And, like, NoHo Hank was pretty funny as the robot. He said, like, the same 6 things over and over again, which was a funny gag, but, like, I wanted more out of that.
What was
I
his
feel
name
like
again? Doug, do you remember?
No, I knew it really well.
Yeah, we used to talk about it like a lot.
It's like a full...
The full like
normal,
three
Dennis?
like, person name. Dennis. Yes, it is Dennis. Dennis McQuaid or Dennis. No, I'm just thinking of Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Caleb McCoy. It was Dennis Caleb McCoy.
There we go.
Okay, so I got the Dennis in the Mick part right.
Yeah, I feel like they wasted him. He's a really funny guy. He's a really funny actor, and they sort of like wasted him on that. But that was probably the most memorable part of the movie to me. Everything else was just like, yeah, that was like a big swing and a miss for me. But you know,
I mean, it had what 30? It was like a 30-some year later sequel to a comedy. So I mean, the odds were against it.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if we actually said this last week when talking about Borat, but I think that was the first great comedy sequel like that came way after the original.
I don't know if it's like Borat. Like, I thought Borat was good. I don't know if it's great, but it definitely succeeded in terms of doing that, which was surprising because that could have been a dumpster fire of its own.
Oh, without doubt. It's so difficult.
Yeah. No, it's not an easy task.
Because you're like repeating the same stuff that was funny 30 years ago, which comedy changes fairly rapidly.
Yeah.
So it's definitely much tougher to pull off than like an action movie or something like that.
Yeah. I just think if this wasn't a Bill and Ted movie, I would have turned it off after maybe 10 minutes and been like...
Who do you think was better, Bill or Ted? Like
Bill, 100%. Because Alex Winter's been doing probably that for years.
When he directs his films, he just acts like Bill the entire time.
Yeah. Keanu Reeves looked like a little out of it, a little lost in the part. Like, he did some good parts. You know, you can tell that he fell into it after a little while, but something about his face, too.
He's definitely... He's aged.
He shouldn't have shaved for that role.
Yeah.
He had a beard when his future self came back anyway. Like, he didn't have to shave.
I liked the evil Bill and Ted. I thought that was pretty funny. How they like they tried to trick him. Who ended up being the people that take the wives into the phone booth? I don't think they ever touch on that. There's like the 2 women that bring him into the phone booth and show them all the different.
I thought it was
futures.
themselves from the future.
I thought it was too, but I don't remember them actually outright doing that.
I don't remember.
I mean, that plot line like didn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, they kind of like, it was just like, let's get rid of the wives for a little while. But like how it all connected or like didn't really work for me. But yeah, I agree. I think Keanu's Ted is just like was off.
Yeah.
I think because I think he was like actually Ted at the time. Like, I don't know that he was like acting so much. I think that was more like his personality and his voice, and he's just like not Ted anymore.
Yeah.
Keanu gonna have no beard in The Matrix 4? I don't want him to look like that again.
No, I don't.
Maybe it's just the long hair and no beard looks weird. Maybe if he like puts the hair back up, he'll look all right. Something about his face.
When was the last time? Now all I can picture him as is like a bearded guy.
John Wick, pretty much.
From the pictures that they've shown of Matrix 4, he has like the shortish hair and clean shaven. So
They cut his hair?
Well, he's the Messiah.
John
so-
Anderton had short hair.
Yeah.
Or Neo,
Well,
however you
because
prefer to
John Wick,
call him.
the hairstyle and his facial hair was exactly the same as Keanu Reeves in person. We did not see a difference. There wasn't that was just him. He is John
His
Wick.
older face just doesn't work without a beard.
It
Yeah.
doesn't. Like,
Oh well.
it's just off-putting. But I mean, he's still a good-looking dude. It's just there's something about it without the beard that's just like.
Just used to it.
I know, like when I shave my beard, I want to like hide my face for years. So maybe it's that.
Exactly.
Maybe it's you see someone with a beard. For
Yeah, we're
so
just
long.
projecting onto ourselves.
Yeah. Don't shave your beards.
Moral of the story.
Well, no beard. What is it? No shave November. We're here at this point.
Yeah, that's like ramp up depression November for me. You got to keep it clean. Got to keep it under control.
I just realized I'm the only one on here that doesn't have a beard.
You
like
have
you're
some
trying,
stubble
man.
on your face.
Yeah, you have some.
Yeah, it's about
Some
as
shadow.
it's about as all I can grow.
Well, it's no shave November for you, Doug.
Yeah, see what you
November's
can do
all
over the course
about-
of the month.
Yeah.
I shave and the next day I'm already like this. A few hours later.
If you guys out there want to contribute to Doug's beard fund,
You
we
could
can get him some implants. Get him a nice easy top beard by the end of November.
We'll set up a GoFundMe.
Hell yeah.
Doug's facial hair.
Doug's facial hair fund. Give him the beard he's always wanted. I don't know if you've wanted a beard, Doug, but
Yeah, no, I definitely have a beard if I could grow one. But
there you go.
so
Let's help Doug out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go fund me.
live, breathe facial hair.
All right, and then my film that I watched this past week, which I highly recommend. It was probably my favorite movie that I've seen this year. Was Last Flag Flying. Came out back in 2017. Stars Steve Carell, Bryan Cranston, and Lawrence Fishburne. It's directed by Richard Linklater, who did Dazed and Confused, Boyhood, bunch of very popular movies, indie type movies. But in it, they play three Vietnam War veterans who reunite after Steve Carell's son dies in the beginning of the Iraq War. So it takes place in 2003, I believe. What I didn't find out until after I watched it, or I remembered after going onto Wikipedia after watching it, was that it was actually a unofficial sequel to a movie that came out in the early 70s, The Last Detail, where the three characters that they're playing are actually in Vietnam. And that movie stars Jack Nicholson in the Bryan Cranston role, Randy Quaid in the Steve Carell role, and Otis Young in the Lawrence Fishburne role. But the three of them just had incredible chemistry together. I just enjoyed watching these three just share the screen, despite the subject matter being a little bleak at times, since it's dealing with the loss of a family member and all that kind of stuff in a war, nonetheless. But it's on Prime Video. Amazon actually was a producer behind it, so it should be on there for, I guess, the end of days. But yeah, it's a good one, and I definitely recommend you guys check it out.
Cool.
Both funny and heartwarming.
It's got some humor in it.
Definitely. Bryan Cranston's
Okay.
really funny. Now that I know that he was following in Jack Nicholson's lead, I can kind of see his performance being a little inspired by him.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
It's very
Alright.
unrealistic because Jack Nicholson does not look like Bryan Cranston nowadays.
No, Jack Nicholson, like in the 70s, looks like practically as old as Bryan Cranston. Like, Nicholson just never looked young.
No, he definitely did.
Like, it wasn't even like Sean Connery where he made it to like 60 and then started looking old. Jack Nicholson at 40 looked like fucking middle-aged guy. But he's the best.
Yeah.
All right, and then let's get into some of the flicks and television shows that we watched over the past week. now that we're talking Lovecraft Country, we will be getting into The Mandalorian, which had its season premiere. But before we get to that, we can talk about The Witches, which Doug caught up on, and then Tenet, which Corey caught up on, and I saw for a second time. But Doug, you want to start with The Witches? What did you think in comparison to the 1990 version and what I thought when talking about it last week?
Get after it, Doug. Represent
it's
witches.
Just like a not as good beat for beat almost version of the, what was it, 1990 Witches. It's just, I watched them back to back just because I felt like I had to after I finished the new Witches. I was like, I need to go back and
the exact same movie,
cleanse the palate. It's like almost beat for beat the same movie, except for add in Chris Rock narrating, and the ending is actually a different ending, which is the ending, which I found out was the ending for the book, which is interesting.
So, I mean, are we in spoilers territory here? Because I don't give a shit if he spoils it for me.
I don't care either.
Corey?
Nope.
Does he die at the end?
No.
I thought he's supposed to die at the end of the book.
No, what happens... Alright, spoilers for all of our listeners that may... which I think is a very small amount of people listening to this that would want to watch The Witches. No, they don't. There's no cure for the mouse potion.
Gotcha.
And so he stuck a mouse for... They imply that he's only going to live to be 9 or something. 9 years.
I do remember that.
Which I don't know if that was in the book.
They imply that in the 90s movie too. He's pretty thrilled that he's going to live to be 6 or something He's very positive in the 90s movie about being a mouse. He's pretty fucking thrilled, it seems like. And the grandma's like, ah, shit. We got cats.
But then he turns back.
Yes, yeah, because the secretary witch gets pissed off and saves.
Yeah. Well, this one he's thrilled that he's going to live till 6 or 9 or whatever. But he doesn't turn back, and so he's like, I'm happy that me and my old ass grandma are gonna die at the same time. And it's like, what? How is that a good outcome?
He's just accepted he's not living a long life.
Oh man, it was just and he's aged rapidly because it seems like only a couple. How many years?
Octavia Spencer doesn't age that much.
Yeah, Octavia Spencer doesn't age barely any, and he's all of a sudden goes from kid to Chris Rock.
And he's gray and fucking... Yeah, he's not doing great.
Yeah, so I was just shocked
because Marco.
I was just what's up with this ending? And then they were like, oh no, this was the ending for the original. But I don't know if it was... I don't know, someone decided that ending was too dark for the 1990 version. That's
surprising, because the 1990 version is dark.
In every other way, the 1990 version is so much darker.
Yeah.
Than the new version, but for whatever reason the ending is where they drew the line. But the only other thing I'd probably say that I noticed is the witches just aren't scary enough in the new one. They're kind of goofy looking, whereas I noticed in the old 1990 version, when they take off their wigs, a good amount of the women witches are dudes.
I noticed that too. I thought I was going crazy. I was asking my wife. I'm like, that's a guy. It's like they ran out of women.
It's almost all guys in women's clothing. Except for the first 2 rows are just women. And then after that it's all guys, and it's no wonder they look it makes it creepier. But they're just dudes.
I thought I was going nuts watching that movie. I was like, those are clearly elderly men.
Yeah, it's all guys. And then the High Witch...
This movie's fucking demented.
Yeah.
It really is.
The High Witch just is so creepy and off-putting looking in the 1990 version. And the new version, she's just kind of not that weird looking. She's just they went a little over the top with adding CGI features to Anne Hathaway, where when the mouth gets large, it like looks super goofy. They basically add a CGI mouth over Anne Hathaway's mouth. And it just like doesn't look good. And then when she smells, like they just add a larger CGI nose.
Yeah, that
Really?
was corny
I
as
saw
fuck.
one screen grab and I was like, she looks like straight up like Baraka from Mortal Kombat with the
She does
teeth
kinda.
and the wide mouth.
Yeah, it just like wasn't good. The costume for the High Witch in the 1990 version is so much better.
Yeah, she like looks like an actual monster and like a witch. She's got like the long nose. She's got like the brow.
Yeah, she's just so much creepier
Long
and
fingers.
horrifying. Yeah, the CGI hands too. It's all CGI, and it just like kind of just ruined it for me. But yeah, other than that, it's beat for beat, basically the same movie. The main kid in the 1990s movie, I will say, like annoys the shit out of me now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed this when you watched the 1990s movie, but the scene where he like enters the room to steal the potion, which Murph knows because he basically saw that same movie in the 2020 version. But he's by himself and he has like nobody to talk to, but you need to like understand what he's doing, and he just like has the stupidest narration to describe what he's doing throughout the room to get the potion, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up, like I don't want to hear you. He's got like this annoying voice, and he's like, there's like the cat, and he's like, grandma help, grandma help. I don't know.
It's true, yeah.
I just like, that sucked. The new kid is better in that respect.
Well, that's good.
So there is an improvement.
There's one
That's
positive.
the only improvement is like the new, which I didn't like the new kid that much to begin with.
So
and,
it's
then,
a very small improvement.
and then I saw the 1990 version. I'm like, oh, this
Yeah.
kid's even worse.
Well,
I remember
there's
him
one
being
thing.
whiny.
Yeah, there's one thing I've noticed recently is that like child actors now, well, they're not like leaps and bounds ahead of child actors back in like the 90s and the 80s. But like child actors in the 90s and the 80s fucking sucked.
Dude,
They were so bad.
You used to go off on kid actors all
They
the time.
ruined
back in, like,
movies.
I guess like high school and shit like that, and college maybe. Even.
Yeah, they ruin movies. They take you out because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Which obviously they're children. Like,
Yeah, that's
it's
why only
fine,
so
but-
many of them get like lauded and so much and like a ton of praise.
yeah.
It's very few and far between.
And then also there's probably a parent standing off camera screaming at them because they're not doing that well, and then they develop all sorts of horrible things. But children actors, at least there's been a couple movies I've seen, aren't like complete garbage, which is good. Back in the day though, like 80s and the 90s, man, child actors were not very good.
Add him to the bunch because he sucked.
He was pretty bad. And the other kid in the 90s version, the little fat boy, who is not fat by any stretch of the imagination nowadays. Because we were watching that and we're like, this is a fat kid in 1990, like compared to nowadays.
Yeah, I think the fat kid in the new one is like a lot fatter.
Is he?
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see that.
He wasn't even like that fat. I mean, he was like
Was it?
fat, but he was poorly. Nothing to write home about.
Yeah.
I thought he was. I thought the new kid was like into food more too.
Don't keep criticizing a child. First,
Well-
wait.
The one kid in the 90s version was a little shit because he ate all the raisins off the outside of all the biscuits or whatever. And I never noticed that until watching it recently, because when everyone comes in for tea, they're all looking at the biscuits like, what the fuck's going on with this thing? He ate all the raisins off of it. So for that alone, he deserves to be turned into a mouse.
The kid's parents sucked.
Yeah. Oh, they suck in the other one.
Everyone's just like, all right,
Yeah,
whatever.
that same
I'm cool
conversation-
with living with Octavia Spencer for the rest of my life as a mouse. They were all very, very chill about it. Why didn't they try to make the witches reverse the potion?
Because they probably couldn't. Because the whole point's just to kill the kids, right?
They
So why would they
definitely
make an
figure it
antidote?
out. They could figure it out.
Do they all get turned into mice at the end of this movie? Like the other one? And get like stomped on and killed with cleavers and shit?
I don't think anyone
No.
gets killed.
They just all turn into mice.
Because that last
I think
scene
they just
in the
assume
90s,
the hotel will get rid of all of them.
Gotcha. Mr. Bean goes crazy with a butcher's knife and starts ending some mice.
Yeah, and the poor fucking was she, a maid? She turns into a mouse because she drank. Oh, she put this. She thought it was perfume, so she like puts it on her neck.
Yep.
And she turns into a mouse, and she's trying to warn the witches, like, don't drink the potion, don't drink the soup, don't drink the soup.
That's the woman in the kitchen. The witch that works in the kitchen gets turned into a mouse because she
Doesn't that
tries
happen
the
in the
soup.
original?
Oh,
That's what they're talking
is that the witch?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's the witch, but the other woman does. She's like furry, and then she turns into a mouse. And I don't know if she turns into a mouse fully, but
No,
I don't think. Does she?
she?
I remember her like turning into like she's got like the features of
a
like,
mouse
a
face
mouse
person.
Yeah, but she doesn't go completely
mouse
full
face
mouse.
person.
She doesn't
One
go
of those
full mouse.
classic mouse face persons. Never go mouse face.
She turns very slowly, but eventually they just like it's a pile of clothes and a mouth comes out.
Rip. Man, witches.
All right, I don't think there's anything else to say about this fucking movie.
They're scary.
Now I'm probably never gonna watch it.
We have talked about the witches an inordinate amount of time on this podcast.
I really don't.
over the first 21 episodes.
I don't think
Number one podcast about witches.
I don't think I'm.
Prove me wrong.
Granted, half the time it was referred to as the Witches of Eastwick.
Yes.
Once we got that cleared up,
You guys have shit on
we
this
still
movie
talked about
enough
it.
that I probably will never watch it. I'll just go and watch the '90s one again.
I've shit on a lot. I've never seen it.
I think everyone deserves to watch both witches.
Murph.
You got it, right?
Murph, you and I could watch.
Maybe I'll watch the 1991 next year.
Next year.
Halloween.
Not even a Halloween.
By then, it won't even be fresh because I'll have watched like 100 other movies in between. Probably won't remember much from the.
Well,
remake.
then you can watch the remake with me because
I'm already forgetting things about Bill and Ted, and that was like 2 months ago.
You'd be like, "What the fuck is this? Why isn't Chris Rock in this movie?" The Witches.
And now let's get into the other movie that we've talked in an inordinate amount of time. Definitely the one we've talked the most about on this podcast, despite the fact that only 2 of us have now seen it. Tenet. Corey, we'll give your initial thoughts similar to how I did a couple weeks ago, and then I'll get into how I thought on my second viewing.
So, this movie made my brain hurt a lot, especially the first like half hour. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. At least there were moments where I'm like, I got this. I know what's going on. I know what's going on, and then they'd take a drastic turn, and then I would sit there. I was sitting in my seat at times like this because it was just the concept is so unique, and just the way that it's filmed and the way that the movie unfolds is like nothing I've ever seen. So it took me most of the movie to try to like figure out like exactly what was going on, and then I got to a point where I was like, all right, I'm enjoying it. Like, I know to an extent what is going on. And then I started to pick up on things, that happened, that connected things from earlier in the movie. And I ended up really enjoying it, but I did not have a complete grasp on the movie. It was very similar in a lot of ways to Inception, where you see it for the first time, either you like it or you don't like it. And if you like it, you're going to see it again very soon after, and then you're going to really be able to like absorb and piece together what the movie is about, and like a lot of the little Easter eggs and intricacies. And that's kind of how I felt at the end of this movie. But I ended up after the movie ended, I did really like it. The one negative that I had, and Murph and I were talking about this, and I find it interesting because you didn't think that this was an issue, but I thought that the sound mixing was way too distracting. I think Doug mentioned it like episodes ago when we were talking about the movie, but there were times where I couldn't hear the dialogue, and I wanted to hear what was going on, and it was just drowned out by boom, 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 and like that kind of annoyed me a little bit.
The music's good.
Yeah, the music's killer. Like, the soundtrack is probably one of my favorite soundtracks out of any of his films. It was a great action soundtrack. Like, from the moment the movie started, you were just like you were amped, you were in it, and just like completely drawn in. That was really good.
And you have to be, because the movie just fucking starts. Like,
yeah,
that prologue gives you no information.
Yeah.
You just go right into the movie. At least with like the Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, you had some Batman villains, characters in them, so you understand what's going on. This, not a clue.
yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't be able to even spoil this movie, even if I tried. Like, that's how fucking insane it is. Like, just the way that it begins, the way that it ends, it's madness. It's brilliant, I think, but it's like nothing I've ever seen before. So I think I really like it. I'm still like trying to digest Kenneth Branagh, Gilderoy Lockhart from Harry Potter as the main villain in the movie, and because he was like fucking evil as hell, and for the first like couple scenes that I saw him, I was like, it's Gilderoy Lockhart. Like, I can't take him seriously. Yeah, he can. And so he killed it. But yeah, I definitely want to see it again. I kind of want to go to the movies and see it again, but I'm probably not going to. But yeah, I mean, I'm confused, but I definitely enjoyed the ride. And you said, Murph, that like seeing it for the second time, because we went together, and this was your second time seeing it, that you picked up on a lot more stuff, right? Like, it kind of made a lot more sense to you this time around?
Yeah, I was picking up on things throughout the movie this time.
So that's good.
Following things that I didn't initially get when I was just so focused on like how they were getting from A to B. I liked it the first time. I think that was clear from what we talked about, but I wasn't like overly enthusiastic. I loved it the second time. It's, I would say, the best movie of 2020 so far. It's still it's confusing, but I believe I was able to understand the action scenes and how they were working this time, which was, it looked cool the first time, but I didn't necessarily understand the logistics of how things were working the way they were, and why. So that I picked up on. But yeah, I think the story is ultimately a strong one. You just can't get too bogged down on the whole inversion, time travelness of it all. I can't wait for Doug to see it, just because he's going to be all in on like the whole paradoxes and everything like that.
Paradoxes on top of paradoxes on top of paradoxes. It's
I definitely will be.
It's maddening.
I didn't mention this, but like Dark when the season ended, Julie and I were arguing about paradoxes, and I was like drawing a timeline.
You're gonna be like that with Tenet, 110%. So I'm very excited for when, hopefully, the four of us can watch it at some point in the near future.
Yeah. One other thing I want to point out, because I know Murph and I talked about this and we were laughing, but I definitely didn't tell you and Doug and JP. But our friend Ryan also was with us. It was his first time seeing it, and his immediate reaction out of the movie was, that was like completely not enjoyable. Like, I had no idea what the fuck was going on. When I thought there was stuff going on that I understood, I didn't understand it. It went in a completely different direction. And that was how like it ended for him that night. But the next day, he texted me and he was like, I think I liked it.
Yeah, he's like, I don't even know like if I liked it or didn't like it.
But I know I need to see it again.
He's like, I don't necessarily want to see it again, but like I need to see it again.
So we were laughing about that because it was just like, it's ridiculous, because I can completely understand that. Like, it's definitely one of those films, you either like it or you don't like it, you know. But
I think when it's all said and done, it's gonna be pretty high up on my Nolan list.
Yeah,
which I didn't necessarily think.
I think
would
so.
Be the case the first time. All right. We will check back in on it when you guys see it. But let's move on to The Mandalorian, Season 2, Episode 1, Chapter 9, the Marshal, I believe is the name of the episode. So, supersized episode for Mandalorian. It was about, 54 minutes. 52 minutes maybe without the credits.
It's a long one. Yeah.
Yeah, for the show, it was a long one.
It's like 3 episodes.
Hopefully, the rest of the season is about that length. I hope.
Yeah, we'll see what's to come this coming Friday. But what's your thoughts? How would you feel the return was?
I really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked it a lot, especially because I wasn't like completely ready and like excited to watch Mandalorian again, because I've just still been like in like the Rise of Skywalker depression. So I haven't watched like anything Star Wars since I saw that movie for the second time, because I'm just like I was just done. But yeah, well, I mean, I thought it was fantastic. It was a good kickoff to the season. It seems like that there's already like some type of a subplot storyline going on there that I'm excited about. Yeah, I mean, Timothy Olyphant was awesome. This is his best Timothy Olyphant impression.
Yeah, I guess I should say we are going to get into spoilers on this.
Yeah.
So if you have not watched the season premiere of The Mandalorian, check out now, because once I'm done with this warning, we're going to get right into spoilers.
We should at least, before we jump into spoilers, I mean, I just said I really liked it. Corey said he really liked it. I mean, do we all agree we really liked it?
Oh, I loved it. I watched it twice already.
Yeah, I only watched it
Murph,
once.
you liked it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. This show is just, it's not something I'm probably ever going to love, I don't think. I'm always going to watch it and like enjoy it, but there's not enough story for me that goes into the episodes. There's just, I mean, what do you guys think? 5 minutes of it is just shots of them riding speeders and doing things like that.
Yeah, no, probably even more than that.
With awesome music.
But it's
which I love. Again, great music, similar to Tenet because it's the same composer.
I think a lot of that, and I just recently like kind of connected this because I know from the first season it was supposed to be like a Star Wars Western in a lot of ways.
No, it's exactly like a Western.
And Westerns are very much like that. You see, like minutes of like the landscape and this and that, and I think that's just the aesthetic.
Would probably dig it more if the episodes were regularly longer.
Yeah,
but
it has more of a Star Wars feel to it than any of the Star Wars movies, because you get in a whole season you get to see so many different locations and so many like aliens that you've seen before, aliens that you haven't. It's all practical effects. It feels like a slice of Star Wars pie every single episode. I don't know.
I'll agree with you on that.
I just don't think I'm ever going to connect with anything Star Wars as much as I did with like in the past with like the Skywalker movies. I'm not saying like the sequels or anything like that, but just the whole saga of Luke, Han, Leia, the whole gang from those 9 movies. Because I mean they're telling essentially the most epic story you can possibly tell, similar to Lord of the Rings. I didn't really dig The Hobbit because you've already seen the biggest story with the Lord of the Rings. Now you're just getting essentially like a side story that's connected, but I'm just one man with an opinion. Again, I'm going to continue watching every single episode. I get stuff I enjoy out of it, but I just don't think it's something I'm meant to like love on television.
That's sad.
Yeah.
So, since
I
we're...
wish you liked it as much as we did, Murph.
So do I.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the Western, I mean, this was the most Western-y Mandalorian episode that I think I've seen. I mean, when he gets into town and, like, the shot of, like, the townspeople and then the shot back on Mando. And,
it doesn't get more Western than Timothy Olyphant being in an episode.
That's true.
He is, like, the sheriff of any said great show, like Western show or movie. I feel like he just kills it.
Yeah,
he's like our modern like Clint Eastwood Western stuff, except for it's TV instead of movies primarily.
Yeah.
And he was awesome. Like he was, I mean, I've seen on the internet, because I just watched the episode, as you guys know, but like over the past couple days, I've just seen people like Timothy Oliphant's character, whatever his name is, because I know he's his name, but I don't remember what it is. But his character,
Cobb Vanth.
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, he's amazing, and like making gifts at him. Like people are just like treasuring.
The poster they put out was really cool.
Yeah.
So
can we get into spoilers? I want to start screaming about stuff.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, fucking
Boba Fett
armor, dude. Yeah.
No,
This
not even the
episode-
armor. Boba Fett at the end.
but we'll get to Boba Fett because I screamed at my wife and she had no fucking idea what I was talking about. The Boba Fett armor has more screen time in this goddamn episode than it did in the entire trilogy. I'm pretty sure.
Probably.
And holy shit, it looked a little goofy on him, but
Well,
It's because he didn't have like the full. Like,
yeah,
he wasn't wearing the.
Outfit.
it's got like a really long neck too. It seemed like.
Do you notice like
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was like it was different, but like that new little like digital.
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
chest thing. Like there were some things that were different about it, but it looked good. It looked really
it
good.
looked fantastic.
I liked how it was like you could tell like it was damaged and had bullet holes.
It had a
in
bullet, yeah, dent.
Well, he's always had the
bullet.
dented helmet.
Yeah.
Or at least towards
it. But you can tell that it was literally like the
Oh, yeah.
Jawas took it out of the Sarlacc pit or whatever, after that point. So
I was so fucking worried because there was all a talk about like Tamora Morrison coming on, and he was like maybe he wasn't going to play Boba Fett, and I knew that like Cobb Vanth was going to be the guy wearing the Boba Fett armor because, like I said, I spoiled fucking everything before it gets to me. And I was worried, like for the whole episode. I thought at the end he was going to let him keep the armor, and it was just going to be there's your Boba Fett for the season, and Tamora Morrison's going to play someone else. And I couldn't have been more fucking wrong, and I'm so happy. So
Yeah.
happy.
Well,
that
I
was
see people online
crazy.
debating who Tamora Morrison is
Oh,
after the
no,
episode.
no,
I'm like,
no,
are you
no,
fucking
no,
kidding
no.
me? The moment he showed up, I'm like, Boba Fett. He's fucking
100%.
I mean, there are people
He
that were
found the
like,
armor. He knows where it's going.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's clear for Star Wars fans. I mean, there are people that I saw online that were like, "Who's the guy at the end of the episode?" But clearly, they're
Yeah,
not.
I didn't.
Cough, Doug. Cough.
I didn't know who he was. Yeah, because I didn't recognize the actor. I hadn't seen that
Really?
actor since what was it, Clone Wars?
You didn't see Aquaman?
I didn't recognize him. I guess
Man,
not.
I-
Would be the
I
father.
immediately-
Dad and Aquaman.
I immediately was like, "Oh my God, Boba Fett is
For
going
me,
to
like,
be
that
in, this
guy-
in this season."
He like didn't have eyebrows or something. I don't know. He looked like did
Dude,
not look
he
like,
just
They had him look a little older. And
he had scars all over his face. He fucking survived a Sarlacc pit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
he
he's
just
gotta
wasn't
look-
super recognizable to me. I didn't immediately say, "Oh yeah, that's Boba Fett," but I didn't even realize the actor was gonna be in this season.
So I imagine we're gonna find out how, like their version, obviously, but like I guess it'll be canon. But like how he survives everything that happened in the beginning of Return of the Jedi, how he survived the Sarlacc pit, which will be cool. And then
Yeah.
hopefully he'll be like a somewhat reoccurring character throughout the season. I mean, we didn't see his name escapes me, but the main villain, the main antagonist,
Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon, yeah. We didn't see him at all.
I mean, from
Gus
what
Fring.
he's
Gus
Yeah,
Fring,
from
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm
what he
saying.
said,
I
like
forgot
that
his name.
whole storyline's not going to play out for like 2 or 3 more seasons. He was saying.
Oh, okay. Well, that's honestly that's
Yeah.
fine too. If he shows up like 1 or 2
Or
more
maybe like
times,
1 or 2 more seasons.
if he
That's like
shows up
season 3 or
1 or
4.
2 more times this season and kind of like plants the seed for like maybe next season it being like
I mean,
a big thing, I'm fine with that.
He 100%
Completely.
will because like Ahsoka has that whole thing with like the dark saber.
Yeah,
Or,
yeah.
The woman from fucking Battlestar Galactica is supposed to be playing like a character that has some tie to it. It'll definitely be a storyline.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be shocked if we only got like 1 or 2 episodes of Boba Fett, like him getting the armor back and then maybe helping out because he's not like an inherently evil character, I guess.
No, but I think
No, he's
like
just
I think they need to
Yeah.
let that storyline breathe, or fans are going to have a conniption. Like they're just going to lose their goddamn minds.
he's not gonna like. Why would he have to fight Mando to get his own armor? Like, they're both Mandalorian. There shouldn't be any like real.
I don't think
Probably not.
I don't think he'll be a villain. I just think he'll be connected to finding where they need to bring, Baby Yoda, the child.
Is,
Maybe.
Is Boba Fett a Mandalorian, or does he just wear Mandalorian armor?
No, he's a Mandalorian.
Yeah, there was like some shitty little off kilter line in like the prequels that said that Jango Fett wasn't a Mandalorian.
He totally
And
was.
he only.
Maybe he's not.
I have no idea, but I mean, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, it
he
doesn't
probably
really. I
is.
mean, they'll just do whatever they want with. They don't. I don't
Yeah.
think there's enough there that it matters how they want to play it.
No.
I did read that a lot of this season of or part of this season of the Mandalorian is going to be to kick off spin-off shows.
Fine with
So
me.
that's interesting. I
They should
didn't.
start retconning Rise of Skywalker. That would be nice.
No, they should just ignore those movies.
There's no reason to. Yeah, there's no reason.
Yeah.
They take place so much before those movies.
Yeah,
It's impossible to retcon them.
they can just fucking ignore that they exist and be like, "Oh, Luke Skywalker, no, he's dead."
Yeah, no, I don't want them to go the way of like Halloween and just keep making a new version of a second
Yeah.
one every like fucking 20 years. It is what it is. They just didn't stick the landing. Sorry.
Yeah.
The jetpack's a cool ad.
Oh yeah.
Kind of like
And
leads
the,
to kind of like the pretty cool scenes.
the
of them
entire-
flying around.
Did anyone get Iron Man vibes?
Oh,
when-
It's
Good.
100% an homage to
A nod
Iron
to
Man,
the first
yeah.
Iron Man.
Didn't
Yeah.
didn't Favreau direct that episode too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
And it was
totally.
it was also Chef Reunion with John Leguizamo.
Dude,
Wait, John Leguizamo was in it?
Yeah, the one-eyed alien. When I finished that episode and I saw he was in the credits, I was like, "Who the fuck was John Leguizamo?" in this
I was like, his
episode?
voice sounds
His voice
familiar.
sounded familiar. Okay.
There's like one or two times where he breaks whatever accent he's doing and it sounds like him. But when I went back and watched it the second time, I was like, he did a really good job not being himself.
They do the guest stars in order of their appearance in the episode. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, first one, yep, that's who he was.
That was such a cool fight scene. When like my sister-in-law was talking about, she goes, "Why the hell would you ever punch the Mandalorian in the face? He's wearing a damn helmet."
And
'Cause
repeatedly.
we were watching the Bears Saints game, and when that guy started punching the Saints player in the head, we're like, "Why the fuck would you punch someone with a helmet in the head?" And then she said, "Why does the guy try and punch the Mando in the head when he's wearing a helmet?"
Touche.
Yeah, just they get roughed up, and that was a great fight scene. Throws the knife through the guy, and then
Yeah.
I was glad to see Amy Sedaris' character return, the mechanic woman.
yeah,
So I think I'm gonna enjoy seeing them bring back the various, like, mostly comedic actors
yeah.
that
I
were
think-
in season one. Like Bill
I think
Burr
she
eventually
went-
will be back.
Yo, yeah, I watched that episode again the other day. Fucking love that episode.
Yeah, that
The
was a really
heist
good
one.
one.
I think she went a little over the top on this one. That scene felt a little rushed.
Oh, when
they
she
were
was
just
like yelling
talking
at the
really fast
robots.
to each other. She's like, "Oh, you got to find this place. Map. There it is."
Yeah.
And it was just like, I was like,
This
"Slow
episode's
down.
already running long. We need to
Slow
get this.
down." But yeah, I liked her. I liked her coming back. That was cool. And like the nod back to the speeder bike
Mhm.
from when he
Yeah.
kills that other bounty hunter guy.
And how he trusts droids now because of Taika.
Yeah.
I loved
I thought that was cool.
I loved the nod to when the Death Star blew up in Return of the Jedi. Like that scene when they were celebrating for like half a second.
It's cool to see other places reacting to Star
Yeah,
Wars.
I liked that. I liked that a lot. And just being on Tatooine made me like really fucking happy. I was hoping that they would go to Mos Eisley, but you know,
No, isn't
That's where
isn't that what? Yeah, that's where he lands. Is Mos
was
Eisley.
that Mos Eisley?
it started?
It didn't
It
seem-
started in Mos Eisley.
Oh.
So in the first season where he meets the other bounty hunter's sitting in, I think,
They go to
Han
the
Solo's chair.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's in
and
the cantina. I think he's.
Oh,
in
I didn't.
very-
thi-
it's
I didn't
very
think.
much an homage.
I
to
didn't
that
connect that it was the same. It was Mos Eisley. I didn't think it was the
Yeah.
same place. Okay.
But who would have fucking thought that like Jon Favreau would be putting together like a cohesive Star Wars universe? Not me.
Nope.
I
I wonder.
mean,
I wonder how many
he
episodes
kicked
he's
off the
directing.
Marvel. He kicked
Yeah.
off the Marvel universe. Why not kick off the Star Wars universe too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
on TV. Yeah, I mean it's a smashing success for them. So
Yeah, I'm
Awesome.
excited for things to come. Like with this going on, and then they're gonna have the Obi-Wan show, and
Oh, I'm so
if they're
excited
gonna be
for
setting
that.
off spin-offs, if Rosario Dawson gets her own show,
That's
that'd be
Ahsoka.
pretty fucking great. Yeah, For sure. And
I would guess
maybe Boba Fett show.
They could.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, that'd be kind of redundant at this point.
Yeah, I don't think they can
Tune
do
in
it.
for Mando 1, and then shortly an hour after, Mando 2, the Boba Fett story.
I was thinking maybe like if they gave Rosario Dawson her own show, maybe they could tie in like Boba Fett and kind of like give her own Mandalorian to chill with.
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what they do. But just in the episode alone, then Cobb Vanth was a really cool character. I wouldn't mind seeing him again down the road.
Looks like we'll be getting a bunch of Carl Weathers and
Gina
Carano, since they're on like the key art on Disney Plus, along with Baby Yoda and Amanda.
She was great.
Yeah,
she was one of my favorite characters from the first season. I really liked her a lot, which I didn't think I was going to.
No, I mean, there's no precedent to think that she'd be a good actress, because look at Ronda Rousey. and
Carl Weathers was
UFC fighters being actors.
Even Bill Burr, like he was great in the episode that he was in.
When I watched that episode again, the woman that played the Twi'lek with them was so fucking good. She steals that whole episode. She's from Harry Potter too. Callie was telling me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know.
She was outstanding in that episode.
I think she's Lupin's wife.
Yeah.
I think.
Hopefully they bring all three of those people back that he locked into a cell somewhere.
I imagine Bill Burr's character is going to pop up somewhere in an episode.
They killed Flass. Flass no longer has kids to feed in the Star Wars universe.
They lit him on fire, right?
The X-Wings attack is... yeah,
the bombs were attached to him or whatever.
Rest in peace, Space Flass. But yeah, I'm so pumped for Friday. Another Mandalorian episode.
Well, we'll be talking about him for the next 7 weeks, so that'll be pretty cool. And then I guess WandaVision will probably start right after, or maybe like right before season 2 ends. So we're finally getting used to our Disney Plus subscription.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
But all right, until next week, that's it for The Mandalorian. We can now move on to our feature presentation and get right back into James Bond 007. So with this being the month that No Time to Die was supposed to come out, and this also being the week of Sean Connery's passing, we felt now would be an appropriate time to talk about his most iconic character.
And of course being Zardoz.
Exactly. But let's start with our first memories of James Bond, which are very similar.
Eerily shocking, similar. Since we have such a disparity in age.
Exactly.
And growing up in the exact same spot.
The whopping 10 months difference between the oldest and youngest, or 9 months. But it's funny that it's not even necessarily from the movie, from a Bond movie, despite the fact that there was, I guess, almost 20 of them out at the time when we were kids. But for all of us, it's GoldenEye.
Oh, yeah.
So...
the Nintendo 64 game, right? Or no?
I was going to say right? Either the movie or the game. So who here was the game?
I was the game.
Yeah,
you guys, right?
the game. The game was definitely first for me as well.
The game was like revolutionary
for the time.
Oh yeah, Corey's like a GoldenEye hater. Everyone, you should all know this.
I didn't know that about him.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of his lesser qualities. But
I suppose it's a shit game.
Corey's
a shit game. You say a shit game?
Yeah, exactly. Can we just mute him? Do we have a way to just press the mute button?
No, I think he owns this server.
It doesn't hold up very well, but
Nintendo 64 game holds up that well.
I respect 64 holds up that well.
it. It actually holds up way better. I just played it. Yeah, GoldenEye.
Oh, you're talking about Mario. I thought you just did a 180 on the podcast.
As a 64 game, I'm gonna say that Super Mario holds up way better than GoldenEye does. So
Cool story.
GoldenEye is just not. It doesn't hold up very well. You need the two sticks.
I don't even hear you, man. I hear the GoldenEye theme playing
I should also
in my head.
also note that Corey doesn't know how to hold a Nintendo 64.
That's true. He doesn't use the middle thing.
I have large hands. I don't need to. Sorry.
Corey was a 10-year-old fighting with the way the Nintendo made the
I was
controller.
like 6'2" when we were like 10. So it's an
Actually, you weren't even 10 years old when that system came out. You were like 8 years old. But
it was the most comfortable.
We'll stop teasing Corey for his views on video games from the mid-90s.
I mean, it was a great.
It was a great adaptation of the movie too.
Yeah.
While some of the levels were a little like out there and
I like
weren't
the campaign.
really in the movie. Exactly, the campaign was very true for the most part to the film.
I still haven't seen that movie. All I know story-wise is like what happens in that.
What the fuck?
You don't remember seeing the movie? Really?
He never saw it. He says.
You
Like-
never saw it? Oh my god.
Man.
No, I just knew the story of the game.
Wow, this changes things.
I'm done. I quit.
What was the first Bond movie you saw?
Casino Royale?
No, one of the Connery. I definitely saw the Pierce Bronson.
Pierce Bronson. Doug, I'm worried about you, man. I'm worried about you.
I've seen some of his newer movies, but I haven't seen GoldenEye.
Wait, Pierce Bronson's movies or
Like, related to...
Did you like go to New York City and buy the DVDs off of some guy like in Times Square? I got the new Pierce Bronson Golden Guy.
it stars Jimmy Bond 004.
Number 7.
But yeah, I never saw GoldenEye.
Oof.
Got it.
You should
Doug, do you know why we're joking around with you right now?
Yeah, the Pierce.
You got it. You got it.
Say it with conviction.
Summon him. Say it 3 times.
Come on, Doug.
Just look at his name and say it out loud.
Brosnan. Keith I'm even fucking stuck. I'm even screwing it up this time. Pierce Brosnan. God damn it, Doug.
Keith Bronson. Let's do
spreading.
that.
It's like fucking COVID. Soon none of us will be able to say Pierce Brosnan.
Keith Brosnan. It's like a fucking porn star. Fuck.
Dude.
All right, so which was the first Pierce Brosnan movie you saw?
I don't know. It's either Die. Which one came first?
They legitimately, after GoldenEye, all feel like the exact same movie to me.
They do.
Yeah.
World is not enough.
It was really bad.
World is not enough. Die Another Day. Is there
Tomorrow
Never Dies? They all like.
Oh.
Do you remember the villain of the one that you saw, or the
villains are memorable.
The theme song? The theme song is probably the most memorable. That's how I usually like the Madonna. Madonna was
I
Die Another Day.
I don't remember a single Pierce Brosnan theme song.
Doug's like, stop asking me questions.
Yeah, no, I don't really.
Doug became a fan with Daniel Craig. We saw Casino Royale. I think opening weekend, the two of us saw it. I think with your brother and Corey maybe. And
That's definitely when I became a fan.
Yeah.
I remember I was a skeptic too with Casino Royale. What'd you say, Doug?
I enjoyed the GoldenEye game, but it was like more gameplay than the story's like kind of goofy in the game. Natalia, you gotta bring Natalia out.
You might not like the movie then.
I don't know how well that movie holds up now. I haven't watched it in a very long time.
It's the best of the Brosnan movies.
For sure.
Yeah, I'll agree.
It's like the train with the laser watch and all that actually happens in the...
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Damn right.
Don't you dare laugh.
My laser watch to break this little panel out so I can drop out of the train.
It was a Tag Heuer watch. I bought one because of that movie. Or at least a knockoff. Yeah, that movie was good. Shut up.
But going back to the game real quick, I mean, the couch co-op was also...
Yeah, there's nothing better than multiplayer.
Yeah.
At the time.
Just having
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
Yes, Corey. Not all time. Corey's like, I don't know, man. I think Skyrim was just an all-around better game, even though it was a different genre. The graphics are much better. The playability is just out of this world.
Oh, man. There was nothing better though than having like friends come over and just like killing each other and GoldenEye. Like that was just...
Man, I soured on that game once I played around in college with one of my roommates who was apparently like Rain Man with a grenade launcher. He was like able to bounce them off walls into my character's mouth and I instantly died. That was if you were bad and playing against someone really good, there's not a whole lot you could do in that game.
Especially if like the person knows where people respawn and everything like that.
Yeah.
Like that was like
you learn the
facility.
maps.
Like I've never forgotten like where exactly people will end up. So I'm just like waiting for them to pop up. And
oh yeah, facility was like the best.
The bathroom stalls, right?
Yep.
I think facility, complex, and the temple are probably what are considered the three best levels.
I like the complex too.
Slappers.
The temple. I liked the like quarter things that just like opened up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times.
That's a great video game.
I thought Perfect Dark was better multiplayer.
Literally the exact same game. It's literally the exact same game, but weapons have a second firing function.
But it came out years later.
Still not amazing, but better.
We owned both of them.
I mean, it's essentially a sequel. They just didn't have the rights to James Bond.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
My brother always wanted to play Perfect Dark. I said, why? We have GoldenEye.
The customization is like way more like out of control. Like you can customize everything. That's one of the first games where you could do that.
Yeah, I like Perfect Dark, but
It's a good game.
it came later.
Yeah.
It's like saying I like Call of Duty, like, yeah. But it came after.
I'm a Halo guy.
All right, so this did turn out to be a video game episode.
Yeah. For real.
But JP, the movie was your first memory?
I feel like we saw the movie way before we got Nintendo 64 to play the game.
I actually got the game the same weekend I saw the movie.
Yeah.
It was like my birthday. I guess when I was, I don't know, turning 11, I guess, would be the math. Yeah, because it was 97. And it was the year Tomorrow Never Dies came out in theaters. And that was the first one I saw in theaters.
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing GoldenEye, and it was... I knew nothing about James Bond. I was never like a James Bond. Never grew up watching the movies, and I loved Pierce. I thought it was so good. Yeah, then I got the video game and I played the crap out of that. I wasn't too good at it, so I didn't play it probably as much as you guys did, but I've watched that movie a lot though. And that was really it was really just like I always knew Sean Connery was Bond.
Mm-hmm.
I guess to a degree, but I've never seen a Sean Connery.
Because like
movie.
our parents probably, I mean, definitely, like my parents grew up with Sean Connery. Like, I guess when the same age we were for like Pierce Brosnan, they were for Sean Connery.
Yeah. And my dad played James Bond because he's Timothy Dalton, so
that's true. Little known fact. JP's dad is Timothy Dalton.
Yeah.
JP Dalton is on the Breathe film.
I don't take his last name because I don't want the fame that goes along with it.
I forgot. Sorry.
Yeah. It's funny because my dad looks like Timothy Dalton, and we went to Taekwondo with a guy that looked exactly like Pierce Brosnan.
We also
exactly like Pierce Brosnan.
We also go to a bar
We
with
do.
a guy that looks exactly like Pierce Brosnan.
That is true. I don't think they're the same people. So there are at least 2 people in New Jersey that look exactly like Pierce Brosnan. But
all right, but what about after kind of delving into the franchise and everything like that? At this point, which would you say is your favorite Bond movie and Bond actor? I guess a few or 2 of us, Doug, you and I, had Casino Royale, so we can start there. What was it about that one that pulled you in?
Yeah, I guess it was a different type of Bond. I got used to the Bond that's like too cool for it, like he's super suave and he's kind of like perfect. At least by the movies I jumped in on, where it just like everything, he just almost kind of felt like invincible, and his hair never seemed like it got messed up, or like a hair ever was out of place when he got into a fight. Like it just like, and that never really grabbed me. But then when Casino Royale came around, and you just saw like Bond just like get the shit beat out of him,
running through walls and like the
just like
one of the first scenes.
Yeah, it was just like a rough and tumble version of Bond, where it just, he gets his ass kicked and he gets it done, but it's messy, and it's not, everything doesn't really go it doesn't seem to go his way. It seems like he's still kind of like learning the ropes, and I really dug that version of James Bond. And I thought Daniel Craig did such a good job, even though he looked nothing like what I pictured in my mind at that time to be James Bond. He just, I don't know, something about him, he captured it. He was funny. He looked like someone that could beat the shit out of somebody barehanded if he had to. And the story was just, it was way better than any of the Bond movie stories that I had seen. It was a really, really well done story. A little long in the middle, but overall, it was just really well done, and so that kind of pulled me in. I know, like you said, we both watched that movie together, and I think we both were like thrilled with the movie when it ends. I remember when he turns, I think at the end is when he becomes 007, right? And he kind of like,
it's when he's like fucking James Bond. It's the first time he says Bond, James Bond.
Bond, James Bond, and he also, I think,
the music comes on right then and there, and
the turn of the camera on the shoot, right?
Yeah.
The like classic, and it was just like, this is so good. Like I don't know, I just like, I was so happy. I remember being so happy when that movie ended, just because I was like, this is my Bond.
Exactly. It's similar. I was just going to say when you were done with all this that Daniel Craig is my Bond, but what I was going to say before that about Casino Royale was like I always liked the films. Like I'd go see all the Brosnan ones once I was allowed to start seeing them. But Casino Royale was the first one that like I loved upon like first viewing, and that one, it's just held up so well. Like the fact that it's kind of an origin story, and the fact that the story that they're telling is as like nuanced and interesting as it is. It's really a fulfilling story for James and Vesper, because it's kind of a two-hander for a lot of the movie. Eva Green does a fantastic job and is still my favorite Bond girl as well.
Such a good actress.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, Daniel Craig like is my Bond, and I think he's going to be considered like our generation and the one right below us, their James Bond. Like Sean Connery was considered James Bond for such a long time. He'll never be as iconic as Sean Connery because Sean Connery was the first. But I think he likely will go down as probably the second most famous James Bond, until somebody else comes around that absolutely kills it. Corey, you also had Daniel Craig as your Bond.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Craig is definitely, I mean, after watching like a lot of the Bond movies with Sean Connery, with Timothy Dalton, with Pierce Brosnan over the years as a kid, you stick with, certain films, and definitely Daniel Craig, his films definitely stuck with me for sure, but I think that's because we were at the age we were, and the movies weren't goofy. They weren't goofy. They, like, from what I understand, because I've never read the books, I want to, but they really doubled down on a lot of the stories, that Ian Fleming did, in a lot of ways, and it shows. I mean, like, he did a great job, and the movies are still, like, very, very entertaining, and he's a great Bond. But I mean, Sean Connery is still, like you said earlier, he's the GOAT. Like, he is James Bond. He always will be. And I know, like, for me, I love a lot of the movies that he did as James Bond, but Goldfinger is definitely one that sticks out in my mind. I haven't seen it in a very long time, but I always remember watching it with my dad and my brother, and it was just a lot of fun. I mean, you have the characters in that movie were so entertaining. I mean, Pussy Galore was a great Bond girl. Odd Job, I think I remember being in that movie, which he was a great villain. Obviously, you have Moneypenny. All of the staple characters that they have brought back in Daniel Craig's Bond universe, I guess, were there, and it was just a fun movie. If I remember correctly, I think, like, Goldfinger, which was the main villain, like, he was trying to take over Fort Knox to, like, literally dismantle, like, the world economy. It was, like, the most ridiculous, like, story, like, the most ridiculous plot, but it worked, and it was just fun. I mean, it was, James Bond going to try to thwart, like, another, villain's master plan. So that one I'm probably gonna watch soon, because I do want to watch the Sean Connery movies, especially now. It's been a long time, and since now of his passing, I wanna watch them. It's been too long, so I'll revisit them as I'm watching them. But yeah, I mean, that one has always been just, like, a really fun movie, and not even, like, hokey, just, like, fun, just, like, really well done action movie, like James Bond flick. So that's the one that always sticks in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, that one is widely considered the best by a lot of people. I've definitely seen it as well, and definitely has some dated stuff to it. It's funny, I'm pretty sure it's Goldfinger, where Bond makes fun of the Beatles, which is right around, I guess, the time that they started breaking out, since it was, I guess, 1964.
That would
so it's pretty
sense,
funny
yeah.
Watching it in a 2020 lens. But yeah, I mean, the Beatles would not be appealing to that type of man. So it's pretty funny.
I wonder now, like, people just getting into James Bond, like, watching the Daniel Craig movies, like, how many of those people go back, especially now that Sean Connery has passed, if they'll go back and watch the older films, like the movies with him, and connect to be like, oh wow, like, there's Moneypenny, there's M, like, like, all these characters that they've seen done more recently, and kind of connect the dots. And
sure, a small group does that, but I mean, it's a lot. It's a big undertaking.
Was it like 8 movies?
24 movies total.
Well, with Sean Connery, how many movies did he do?
He did 6 official ones and then an unofficial one. But yeah, And then JP, you're the Pierce guy.
Yeah, I bucked the trend here a little bit. It took me a long time to get on board the Daniel Craig bandwagon.
Because
to me,
Pierce Brosnan was our Bond. Like,
yeah, so,
when we were kids and shit. And
to me,
teenagers.
Pierce will always be the Bond that I think of. I mean, you always think of Sean Connery first just because he's Sean Connery. But to me, like, Pierce Brosnan, I grew up watching, even though his movies take a massive nosedive after GoldenEye. I just love being able to watch GoldenEye. And, you know, obviously the game was, you know, a big part of our childhood. And it took me until about Skyfall to kind of recognize Daniel Craig as being like a Bond. So yeah, I like the Daniel Craig movies. I enjoy watching them on occasion, but to me it's always just gonna be Pierce. It just feels right in my own little world.
And there's like no real wrong answer. I mean, all 5 or 6 of them have done things differently, but they've all had a level of success. I mean, Timothy Dalton didn't get a full shot because of shit going on with behind the scenes and stuff, so he never got a third movie. But I mean, he was kind of the prototype for Daniel Craig's version. Like, it was getting more into that realistic, like, action vein, but he never got to fully do it. George Lazenby only did 1, but the one he did is considered one of the best that was ever done. And then some people like Roger Moore or Pierce Brosnan, where the movies are a little bit more goofy, a little bit more silly, and like more self-aware. But they both had some strong films themselves. So like similar to Batman, like everyone's got their own favorite. Yes, it's weird if someone says George Clooney's their favorite, but
yeah, that's suspect. Someone tells me that I gotta take a couple days to like think about our friendship and you know where that's going. But
then you've got plenty of people who could say Adam West, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it's cool, and it's going to be exciting to see what comes in the future. Because I mean, No Time to Die is going to be Daniel Craig's swan song. It just keeps getting delayed, so it puts that swan song off a little bit longer. But in the next, I would say, 2 years at most, we should have a new James Bond cast. So what do you guys want to say? Who do you have in mind for James Bond at this point in time? Anything that you'd want to see done differently with the character to like separate it from this version? Because I can't imagine they're going to want to do the exact same thing over again.
I would hope not. Yeah. I know for me, like Henry Cavill, Superman, was definitely, and I know a lot of us, you know, agreed that he would be a good choice. He's a very physical and imposing actor. Like, the man he's big. He's a big dude. Like, I think he's well over 6 feet tall, and he's clearly has the physical piece, you know, down pat. So that would, I think, be in itself be like a very, very different type of Bond that we've ever seen. I mean, you look at Pierce Brosnan, you look at Daniel Craig, Timothy Dalton, Sean Connery, they're all relatively short men, you know, in shape, of course, but like not like big dudes like Henry Cavill is. And so he would probably bring like a pretty cool physicality to the role. I mean, I don't know if we've all seen him in Mission Impossible, but like, can you imagine seeing that in a Bond movie where he's like throwing people like through walls and shit? You know, it would be, I think he would be a good choice to kind of change it up a little bit, for sure. I think they need to do like someone different physically.
Yeah, he's already shown that he can do the spy shit between Mission Impossible and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. And then he's already played iconic roles like Superman and Sherlock Holmes. So fuck it, why not? Why not give him James Bond? I'm sure he would do a great job. So yeah, you, me, and Doug all had included him as a potential pick. Doug, is there anything you want to add to him?
No, I mean he's just an easy pick. I don't know that he would feel as like a huge departure. He's still like a British, very like good-looking British guy. I mean, I don't know.
always have to
I
be
feel like
British.
I mean,
No,
Superman was British, so
Pierce
No.
Brosnan's Irish. Sean Connery, Scottish.
Sean Connery's Scottish. Yeah, I mean,
George
I thought
Lazenby,
about it.
I believe is Australian.
Oh, really?
I
I believe so.
They've never done American. That's
They've
all.
never done.
I thought-
American.
Yeah.
I thought about like who would there be any American I would put in there, and nobody over Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
I think he's
George
just
Lazenby's Australian. Fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
It's all countries that are like
Yeah. former
connected to the
British
United
Empire.
Kingdom, former. Yeah, exactly. Which again, America would qualify for that, but
You know who
no,
else?
I can't see an American ever being in the role. It's
you know
just
what?
such a British series.
You know who else I
Yeah.
thought of? I thought of that it wouldn't work now because he's just been typecasted to shit. It just would not work. But if he wasn't Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, I think would have been a good pick also. But it would never work.
Doug looks disgusted.
Yeah.
Right now.
Well, because you're thinking of
I
him as
don't- I just
you're
don't like
thinking of him as
see it.
Wolverine, like. But
No,
I
I'm thinking
think,
about all of his roles. I
Doug's
just
thinking
don't,
about him
like-
as the greatest showman.
what does that have to do?
Yeah, that's actually what I was thinking.
But what does that have to do with anything? I mean, like he's a
He's
a good
He
actor.
doesn't feel like. Yeah, he's a great actor. He just doesn't feel like Bond to me. I was with you with Cavill though. I feel like Cavill hits it. I don't know. I'm just looking for like.
I'm not with you guys on that Cavill train. He is
Why?
too big.
He's a big
He's
dude.
Too much of a gigantic man to be James Bond. And I guess
doesn't-
Like,
you throw a suit
I'm the
on him, though, he
most
doesn't-
noticeable large spy that there is.
Yeah, when
You
the man
look
wears
at him,
a
everyone
suit,
looks at him.
he's got like it's just like they painted his biceps black with the tuxedo, and he's just walking around like you can't hide
also-
a gun when the man's wearing a tuxedo that's
It'll-
as tight as his skin.
He would
It'll
almost.
also be a little
If
hard
Arnold
for him.
Schwarzenegger can be an infiltration unit.
I almost
then
wonder
I think
as
Henry
It'll be
Cavill
hard
could
for
Bond.
Henry Cavill to cock his arms for fighting.
That's true.
When he's in the tuxedo.
I almost
Yeah,
wonder
the
as
arms
Bond,
would rip off, and then you got some weird like trailer park James Bond who's got a sleeveless tuxedo on and he's fighting people.
the guy
He's
might
got
have
Larry
to.
the Cable Guy.
He might have to like lose a bit of weight. I mean,
He
we've
can't
only
do that, man.
What do you mean?
He can't do that. He'll turn into nothing.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of like Cavill having to. He's got to be big for Geralt for Witcher.
He's not as big
Dude.
in that as he is as Superman. I think like he's like way bigger, but
See, I've got an alternative the other way. I got Tommy Hiddleston.
Tom
He's
Hiddleston.
small. He's sleek. He can do more of the espionage thing.
He's more like Daniel Craig.
He's
He
tall.
was-
He's just tall and lanky.
Yeah, he's a lanky guy. Daniel
Apparently
Craig's
he
pretty
was-
like buff dude.
Or no, I was thinking like height wise.
Oh yeah,
I guess Tom Hiddleston is tall.
I think he's.
Is he? I might have made that up.
I think
Yeah,
seems
Hiddleston
like he's
was.
tall.
I think Hiddleston was in the running when
I think so too.
They
He's
were-
at least 5'11", which is tall in my book.
when they weren't sure if Daniel Craig was going to come back or not. I think he was like in the on the short list, but
I think it would be an
Because
interesting
Daniel Craig's
idea.
short.
Ha!
he is short.
He's probably like 6 inches taller than me. So fuck you guys.
I don't think so.
That'd be pretty fucking tall
I
if
think
he's
I-
6 inches taller than you.
I think he's like legitimately
Yeah, he'd be,
like
like,
a
close to
midget.
6 foot.
He's like really short. I think he's like 5'5".
He's 5'10".
No, he's 5'10", you tightest piece of shit. He's 3 inches taller than me. Fucking Oh, Corey. I'm gonna come over to your house and beat you to death with a GoldenEye cartridge. Tom, dude, fucking Daniel Craig's a midget. Son of
Oh,
Nah.
sorry about that.
Yeah, I would like to do. Yeah, Tom Hiddleston's 6'2", so he's a taller
he's
guy.
Very tall.
Yeah, he is tall.
It would just be interesting. He'd be like a very svelte-looking spy.
He definitely can look the part.
there was two I was going back and forth on. Fassbender would be like kind of the obvious choice, but he doesn't want to play it. So I feel like Fassbender would do a really good job as James Bond, but doesn't want to play it. And then Doug and me kind of had the same idea, and Idris Elba would be like in a realistic universe. I would love to have him play James Bond. I think it would be awesome. He's a great actor. He doesn't want to either, apparently.
Tom Hiddleston is actually taller than Henry Cavill, but not as big. He's taller,
No,
though.
not nearly as big. Tom Hiddleston can wear a tuxedo without looking like he's wearing spandex. I mean, nothing against Henry Cavill. I like him a lot. He's a nerd. He plays World of Warcraft. He builds his own computer, and he's like this handsome, jacked Superman dude. But it just doesn't feel like Bond.
I think, like, from what I've seen of him acting, he can do suave, he can do funny. That's how I feel about Idris Elba too. I think both of those could kind of do like the suave and funny, and then also look big enough that they could kick somebody's ass.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, I mean,
I think Idris Elba doesn't want it now.
Like, big.
Yeah. I think Idris Elba doesn't want it anymore because he just feels like he's too old to do it. I think he was interested like years ago.
Well, he was saying something along the lines of he doesn't want to be typecast as being Bond because if you're going to be Bond, you are Bond for
rightfully
3 films.
Rightfully so. I can completely understand that because you will be typecasted as Bond for sure.
Idris Elba. Well, the thing is, he's had such a long career. I don't think he could get typecast as him.
Well, he said something along the lines of it is an investment of your time, and that's like you are playing this character. That's all right. I was reading this article before we started, and he was talking about like he likes building his own characters now,
which is totally fair.
Yeah.
I mean, dude's 48 now. People have been talking about him potentially being Bond for I feel like the majority of the last decade.
Yeah.
But if he was going to do it, I feel like it would have to be like, all right, you're doing 1 or 2 movies and that's it. You're like a stopgap. You're not going to have to invest too much time into it. And that would be how they would have to like pitch it or anything like that.
Yeah. I'm sure, you're from the UK, you grow up, Bond's part of your life. You could say you don't want to play him, but when they come to you, it's probably pretty fucking hard to say no.
Yeah.
It's like being from America and someone's like, you want to play Superman? Like,
yeah.
Gotta say yes at the end of the day.
Exactly. So yeah, kind of going in the direction that you guys had with Idris Elba. Because, I mean, obviously we probably all remember how much shit fucking Daniel Craig got just for being a blonde, blue-haired James Bond. But I feel like
I never understood that.
Neither do I. But I feel like you got to do something different. People have been talking about Idris Elba, black actor, potentially being Bond for so long now. So I kind of went in that direction for like a second pick, but a younger actor. So I went with Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out, Black Panther, and all those. He's English. He's in his 30s. I think that he's a killer actor in everything he's been in. I think if you want to do something different than Bond, you can try something like that. I mean, John David Washington in Tenet was essentially like in certain scenes, like a black Bond. It had the whole espionage type of thing going, secret agent. And I think you can do it. At this point, I don't think anyone looks at James Bond as it's the same character. Like, I think it's a code name.
I would love that type. They've been talking about that forever.
They just need to make it official.
That would be so
but
cool.
There's no reason it has to just be this, like, just a white, dark-haired, brown eyes secret agent. Like, as long as he's English.
Yeah, he's got to be English.
Yeah.
And the name is James Bond, so it has to be a man, because the name is James Bond. If you have a different 007, you can have a 007 that's female. That's
just a
fine.
00 that's female.
Yeah, but if it's 007, if it's James Bond 007, if that's the code name, then it would have to be a dude, and I don't care what you look like. I feel like you can play the part. If you can play the part as cool, suave, and everything like that, you should be given the opportunity. And I think it would stand out. It would be something different than Daniel Craig. And I think they're going to need to do something pretty different because of how well received this last series of films were.
I feel like we're going to find out sooner than later because of this gap. I mean, this movie was supposed to come out in April, and it's kind of just been sitting, being finished. So I wonder if even if in the next year and a half, we find out like who is going to be the next James Bond officially.
You'd have to imagine they have someone that they're looking at.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And this series as a whole, like we were saying earlier, has just had so many gaps. Like the amount of time between Daniel Craig being casted and this last movie coming out
because of all the drama.
Fucking Billie Eilish, I think, was just fucking procreated like 9 months before Daniel Craig was cast as Bond, and now she's singing the theme song for his last movie.
That's insane. That is insane.
There have been so many long gaps in these 5 films. It's wild.
Yeah, for sure.
But
what a weird series that turned out to be.
It really is. I was reading also the other day that Timothy Dalton was so convinced that Bond was done after him. Not that he thought he like crushed the role or anything. They were like, or that he killed it. Like this killed the series.
like in a negative way.
Yeah, exactly. Like the shit that was going on behind the scenes and things like that. He was just convinced between that and the fact that the last few movies didn't do as good. Thought it was just like it's run its course. They're like 15 movies deep at that point, or 16 movies deep at that point. It's time they end it.
That's wild.
We've had 9 more movies since then, and Bond is just as big as it was in the 60s. So this thing is never going to die.
The studio alive, so
yeah, that too. All right. Well, No Time to Die opens in April. We will absolutely be talking about it a shit ton more before then and after. But yeah, that's our history with James Bond in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So let's now move on to our final segment of the night, or day, whenever the heck you're listening to this. Our yearly film series. We're now up to 1994. Per tradition, we will let Corey start with a movie that I am not familiar with.
I don't think anyone is.
So, this movie... So, I'm talking about Serial Mom. So, if anyone has not seen Serial Mom, you should. Plot is basically...
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it.
Kathleen Turner's in it. It basically stars a, just like suburban mom who is a murderer. And she kills people throughout the movie for different reasons. Like, she is insane. It's a comedy, but it's very much a dark comedy, and it's out of control. My mom and my sister used to watch this when I was a kid, so like that's how I got introduced to it. But when I saw this on the list for '94, I was like, oh my god, I have to do this because it's an insane movie from beginning to end. It actually reminds me a lot of Christmas Vacation in a lot of ways, just with outlandish. It doesn't take place at Christmas, just like the outlandish nature of it, or like something from SNL, like an SNL character. It's insane. Like the main character, the mom, is she legitimately just goes throughout the movie just killing people, for different reasons, because they didn't like her food, because, someone cut her off. She goes after them and like literally kills them with with like scissors, like regular like black and silver scissors. That's her weapon of choice throughout the movie. I think she kills her husband in the movie. I think Sam Waterston's in the movie.
I was just looking it up. It's a John Waters movie. No wonder it's this weird.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I completely forgot to even mention that. Yeah, it's a John Waters movie. So there you go. John Waters. It's insane. I don't even have to say anything more. But if I recommend you guys watching it, because I watched it recently and it's still just it's just crazy. But
The first review that comes up on Google is one of the worst films I've ever seen. I'd give it 0. It's just plain gore with not a grain of comedy.
Matthew Lillard's in it, if I remember correctly. I think he plays the son. He's super young.
Yep, he plays Chip Sutphin.
Yeah.
Oh, Ricky Lake's in this.
Makes sense. I think she's
delightful.
She's in a lot of John Waters movies. But yeah, it's keeps going with the trend of me picking movies that I've seen, but just completely left field films.
Is Divine in this, or were they dead by this time?
I don't know.
I don't think Divine was in it from what I saw on the cast list.
Doesn't seem like
Tracy Lords looks like she's in it. Except
lovely.
But
so Suzanne Summers.
It's got the eclectic cast picks as always.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I think we should all compile like all the movies Corey's picked and figure out what their Rotten Tomato scores are.
I didn't look at the Rotten Tomato score of this one.
It's actually not bad. It's 63.
I'm surprised.
Played at the Cannes Film Festival, which is pretty impressive.
So the other choice of movie that I was gonna pick was The Ref with God, I'm trying to think who it's
Dennis Leary.
Dennis Leary, yes. And which is another insane movie. It takes place at Christmas, and he basically kidnaps his family on Christmas.
It's got a 72. You're doing good.
And it's hilarious. But that was my second choice. So,
all right,
Christmas movie. There you go.
Well, Doug, you had 2 movies with high Rotten Tomato scores that you were between. So let's hear 'em.
Yeah, so I've got a little double feature. Shawshank Redemption and The Usual Suspects. So Shawshank, one of the top Stephen King adaptations. Probably up there with The Shining. Starring main protagonist Andy Dufresne.
You
fucking with us at this point?
I was like, I hope he's joking, because I will attack.
Shit, Doug.
You guys are awake. Andy Dufresne. It's just so good. Tim Robbins does such a good job in that movie. So does Morgan Freeman. Probably one of the most iconic scenes is the poster where they throw the rock or whatever goes through the poster, and there's like this hole there that's been dug out. I mean, that I've seen that done a million times in a million different. Simpsons has done it. Family Guy. All the cartoons have done it. But it's such a good movie. Great performances. Nothing better than the end of that movie, or the main climax of the movie after he digs through all the shit and he's out of jail and the rain's pouring down on him. And it's just such a good movie. Such a classic. And then Usual Suspects, another great movie. Probably one of the better movie twists. And also, as far as things I've seen movies done, I mean, the Kaiser Soze moment with the coffee cup dropping and hitting the ground and exploding once the cop puts everything together. The Fu Kaiser Soze really is just fantastic scene and been done to death throughout media. But it's just such a good way to have a character show that they've like that oh shit moment of like, I just connected all the dots.
It's iconic for sure.
Fucking Borat just did it a week ago.
Borat just did it. So good. Scary Movie, I think, does it. Yeah, Scary Movie
does it.
Doofy
Does it very well.
Yep.
I mean, they really do it because they do the whole.
They
Kevin Spacey
spoiled
wall.
The Usual Suspects for me because I saw Scary Movie first.
Oh God, I'm sorry. That sucks. You're like, wait a minute, I've seen this before.
It is what it is.
They ripped this off a Scary Movie.
Yeah, just a great movie. I mean, Kevin Spacey does a great job. Horrible human being, but did a great job as an actor in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, Kevin Spacey's a fantastic actor. Even if he is a slime ball in real life. There's plenty of roles where he just crushes it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is definitely one of those. So that's all I really had to say about them. I just couldn't pass up doing this year without making sure that Shawshank and Usual Suspects got some airtime.
All right, cool. JP, you want to get into your film?
Yeah. I went through a couple different ones, but I felt like I had to ultimately go with Clerks because, we're all from New Jersey, and I'm sure all of us have had some sort of retail job in our lives. You have to deal with stupid customers, and it's just a movie that hits home in so many ways because customers are annoying. They ask for stupid things, and even when you're not supposed to be there today. It's such a cool movie. It's so simply done and such a low budget. I think they spent most of their budget on the rights for like an Alice in Chains song.
Yeah, that's true.
And just filmed in Kevin Smith's place of employment at the time, right?
Yeah.
After hours.
Yeah, during after hours, they let him work there.
It's cool. I mean, it's a black and white movie from 1994, which is something you don't really see every day either. And it's one that I can always go back and watch, and I enjoy all the characters. Gave us Jay and Silent Bob, who went off to make probably Kevin Smith's, in my opinion, Kevin Smith's best movie, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Great movie.
It is.
But it just, it was the start of something. I like Kevin Smith movies for the most part. Some of them are pretty fucking terrible, but for the most part, they're enjoyable, and this started it all, and fantastic.
The Walrus movie.
Tusk.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the Moose Jaws was the other one he made, right?
It was going to be made and never made
No,
it.
it never got made. That's a shame.
Yeah, he ended up, I guess, going to Jay and Silent Bob.
Because Yoga Hosers came out, and that was a huge piece of shit.
That was the second of the three.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even, he had, the whole View Askew universe, everything with Jay and Silent Bob. But, I mean, even Clerks, had quite the afterlife. I mean, it had the TV show.
Yeah. Oh, the TV show is so good.
So
that gets
funny
quoted
for
more
what
than
it
the
was.
original movie.
With us,
At least
definitely.
among us, yeah, for sure. And then
yeah.
Clerks 2 was a fun, enjoyable movie.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Clerks 3. It'll likely come out in the next couple of years. He keeps talking about that and Mallrats too. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see both of them. Not expecting them to live up to the predecessors, but if they're at least entertaining, cool.
Yeah, for sure. The last one I thought was kind of, the Jay and Silent Bob movie was kind of a stinker. I had to turn that off. But, I don't know, maybe we'll find a stride with some of the other properties again. But Clerks, always going to be a staple. And I have the Clerks X Anniversary Edition signed in black Sharpie by Kevin Smith on a black DVD case that you can't see after waiting 14 hours in line to go see him.
Yep.
And then getting booted
Silent
out.
Bob's secret stash.
Yep.
Red Bank.
You can catch us on YouTube somewhere. We're all standing in a line, and someone with probably a camcorder at the time, because it sure shit wasn't a phone, came down and recorded the whole line. Ugh.
Back in 2006.
That was a good time.
That was a very fun time. We drove our friend insane because we stayed online for 14 hours, and none of us were expecting it to be that long.
No, and we got to meet Donkey Lips from Salute Your Shorts.
Yeah. Random appearance from him on the line.
Yep. Which he promptly
That was a
cut.
blast. Yeah, exactly. I think you got some other stuff, not just Clerks signed, right? Or was it only
Yeah, I
Clerks?
got Jane Silent Bob. I got signed.
Yeah, there you go.
I wish I brought a silver Sharpie with me. I currently have 6 in my dining room for some reason, but I didn't have one in 2006. So, But
Well,
yeah, that's my
you
pick.
can go back online when Clerks 3 comes out.
I'm too old for that shit.
Yeah, I know. So am I. All right. And then for mine, I have a triple feature because they are all related by the star of the film, and that is it's Jim Carrey's breakout year, where he did Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber. In my opinion, that's like the craziest year anyone's ever had in film. For just like coming out of nowhere, despite the fact that he had a long career prior, but no like hits or anything like that, and he just puts out like 3 massive comedies.
He made so much money
in the
that
same year. Oh, and his career just took off after that.
Yeah.
He ended up being the first actor to make $20 million for a movie, and it was The Cable Guy, like a black comedy. Just 2 years after these movies, he ended up being the Riddler in Batman Forever only a year later. Just off what he did. I don't even think Dumb and Dumber had come out by the point. It definitely didn't by the time he was cast. So like they just could tell after Ace Ventura that this guy was going to be big. And I mean, it shaped my comedic taste as a kid. So I think we were probably like 8 years old at the time, 7, 8 years old. So yeah, I mean, this shaped my taste for like PG-13 rated comedies for the years to come. While Jim Carrey's comedies of like say post 2000 haven't been the best, to say the least, the ones that he did in the 90s still hold up so well, in my opinion, including the 3 of these. I could easily go back and watch any of them and crack up. Because it's similar to like what we were talking about with Mrs. Doubtfire. There's stuff like in Ace Ventura, for example, or Dumb and Dumber, especially those 2 movies.
I was never allowed to watch the end of Ace Ventura.
Really? As a kid?
I never understood why. Like, my parents would always like fast forward or change it, and then everyone would be throwing up. I had no fucking idea why they were throwing up for the longest time.
Oh yeah, no, I was super. I mean, I'd seen the scene, but I was like, "What's going on?" I was super confused with, I guess, a lot of the last 30 minutes of Ace Ventura when Jim Carrey's when Ace is in the after he kisses Lois Einhorn and finds out it's Ray Finkel. Spoiler alert for a 26-year-old movie.
Yeah.
And he's freaking out and throwing up, like, I had no idea what was going on.
I'm pretty sure one of our friends is scarred from the scene where he lights the clothes on fire in the bathroom and he's just sitting there in a ball.
Yeah, he found it so disturbing.
Yeah. That was a good scene.
Yeah, that and Dumb and Dumber both had a lot of adult humor. The stuff with Seabass in the bathroom, where it's like, meet me at this time. and Lloyd's in the bathroom, and then Seabass comes in. I thought he was just going to he's pushing Jim Carrey down to punch him in the face.
Punch him in the face.
No, he's pushing Jim Carrey down to give him a blowjob. What the fuck was going on when I was a kid? Which makes sense as an 8-year-old not understanding that. But yeah, both of those are wild. And The Mask was, groundbreaking CGI at the time. Now, not so much anymore. But it looked great in 1994. And it was the breakout role for Cameron Diaz, who was also huge in the 90s with There's Something About Mary. So, yeah, it was just great trio of films. Jeff Daniels, he had that and Speed in the same year. Also, fantastic year for him in 2 very different films.
The Mask was always it's such a good time capsule because it shows the weird obsession with swing music that people had in the 90s. What a weird time.
That was like the start of it too.
Yeah. Such a strange thing to be like obsessed with at the time, like zoot suits and fucking Coco Bongo and shit. Like, that really happened.
Yeah.
I'm sure kids that weren't born back then goes back and watching that can't pie. It's just this movie. It really happened. This
is like a cartoon. Like, this is not. Their world definitely wasn't like this. No, sadly it was.
Yep.
We had the Brian Setzer Orchestra and all these other ridiculous
Cherry Poppin' Daddies, who I don't understand how the fuck they got that name on the air, but hey, it's the 90s, right?
It was a different time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. Any last words about 1994?
Good year. Almost picked True Lies. Love that movie.
Good movie.
Yeah, I was thinking about potentially talking about Pulp Fiction or Forrest Gump, but like we did with the 80s, eventually we will cover the decade in review once we're done with our yearly picks for the 90s. So I imagine some of these
will
definitely
be a lengthy episode.
We'll definitely talk about those. All right. Corey, do you have something you were about to say before I jumped in?
No.
All right. Well, then that's all we have for today. Thanks, as always, for listening. Please follow, and subscribe everywhere, especially YouTube, where you can hear and see us bicker and laugh at the ridiculous things that we find funny. But as always, this has been Corey, Doug, JP, and Murph at Live Breathe Film. We'll be back next week, and we hope you are too. Thanks.